They suffered stab wounds in the attack and are now being looked after in hospital.
We need to make sure that when people carry out these activities, they feel the full force of the law. People think they can get away with this. The person who firebombed a few weeks ago is out on bail.
He can't authorise it to be opened. It's not his authorisation. That's sort of Trumpian language that is frankly meaningless. This is a positive development, but it's full of pitfalls, it's full of jeopardy, and there are many different ways in which it could fall apart.
The Prime Minister is set to ban social media for under 16s.
Let's stop
it would follow
importing people
Australia
from
in raising
countries
the
where
minimum age for
anti-Semitism
sites like
is
TikTok
the
and
norm.
Instagram, and
If our
possibly go
London
even
Mayor,
further.
Sadiq Khan,
Health
in his
Secretary
infinite
Lisa
wisdom
Nandy
and
said
belief
the
in
government
diversity, thinks
consultation
that's
was
the sort
launched
of
with a question of
diverse
how
view that it's
we
okay
best
to
protect
have
young people,
on the streets of
not
London,
here.
and the police don't
It does
get involved.
mean you change the presumption at a very early age to stop the situation where kids as young as 8, 9, 10, 11 are going on to social media sites because all of their friends are on them.
Government departments are deciding what to do with the Russian Shadow fleet tanker
keep getting
seized by
proven
British
right
armed
every single
forces.
time. Jews are not safe in this country.
Well, absolutely. No one can be surprised or feeling shocked that this happened. No Jew certainly is. I mean, we had Zach Polanski last week saying this was just a perceived threat. Well, we can see this isn't any perception. This is real. This is happening on the streets. This isn't just an anti-Semitic terror attack. This is an attack on Britain, on the Western liberal democracy and values.
The first politician that uses the word shocking, I might just go and throttle him, because this is anything but shocking. It's the most expected thing is almost overdue, if you ask me. Because, I mean, I just left Israel last week.
Starmer has paid tribute, calling him a giant.
Clearly not.
The Jewish community is our community, and their safety is our safety. And we have to make it absolutely clear, robust, strong leadership, and this has to stop, because otherwise it's almost being normalised, and it's terrifying, and we're sick of it. Enough's enough.
Our plan is a complete step change in how we protect communities, moving beyond piecemeal responses to a sustained nationwide effort, one that ensures that people across the United Kingdom can live freely and without fear.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, a very good morning to you. Welcome along. It is a Monday morning, my third week of being here without a holiday. Welcome to Talk Breakfast, of course, the home of common sense and the home of alarm clock Brits. I hope you had a good weekend. It's raining in London town, but the week's going to be beautiful. Whatever you've been doing overnight, getting up, dealing with the kids, you are very welcome. This is the radio station where your views on the day's news are always welcome. So much going on. Big news, though. Big news is Dean, after a pretty impressive week, stand-in producer, demoted, gone, outside making tea. Christian is back. And you know when somebody's been on holiday, right? Saw him downstairs. He's got the linen shirt on, he's got the casual slacks and the trainers. Landed last night. I'm not going to say where he went, Italy. But he's very happy. He's full of pasta and wine, and he's back, and he's in charge. But the A-team are back. That's no disrespect to you, Dean, but you're not in the A-team. Tommy's on the phone, 0344 419 1000. Your text messages to 87222. Big M. Marky is pushing the buttons, and Nehar just puts up with us all because she's amazing. 0344 419 1000. Poppy in a sec, but where do we start on Monday? Last week was in itself quite extraordinary. I have to say, overnight, breaking news, after 106 days of war, the US and Iran have finally announced a peace deal that's going to end all military operations. That's not in the papers. Trump says, let the oil flow. I've only got 2 points I'd like to make. How long is it going to last? And are we better off after 106 days than we were before? But that's it. Some people want to talk about it, many won't. That is up to you. We throw it out there. Back home, so flip-flop strikes again. I don't know if you're into this news about a full social media ban for under 16s. Another U-turn. I'm going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Oh, my God, I need to stay in power. I think I better do it. You might agree with it, and I'd love to hear from you if you're a parent who thinks that under 16 should be banned. But here's just something I want to say to Keir Starmer and the Labour government. So you know these kids that you want to ban from using social media, but you're all right giving them the vote, you complete, are you? So they can vote, but they can't find out why they should vote or how they should vote or why, in fact, there's any point in anything like that. because you want to control that. So what's your mindset, peeps? 0344 499 1000. It's good for kids? Is it more control? Or is it hypocrisy? Because, sorry, I don't get it. Either ban it, but how are you allowed to vote at 16? My 16-year-old couldn't... he doesn't know anything about it. I mean, I'll obviously tell him. Oh, no, that's family voting. That's illegal. 0344 499 1000. Now, at the risk of having a go at Starmer, I'm sorry it's coming thick and fast. As we finished the show last week, shockingly, John Healey, the Defence Secretary, resigned. A man of principle, I have to say, followed quickly by Dan Jarvis, both saying this government has let down our armed forces. They will not provide the money. Starmer holding firm, saying there's no more money for defence. Two things thought I might throw in here. Over the weekend, they agreed an 11-hour deal that gives the doctors, the junior doctors, another 2 pay rises in a year. Now, don't start me on the doctors, because I get into trouble, but... So the doctors are getting it, but we've got no defence. And then there was that footage. Don't know if you all saw the paper. Here you are, front of the Times. Raid on Russian shadow vessel, just the beginning. Of what? Deflecting the fact that you're not spending money on defence, making us think that what? You've got a ship and you're protecting the... I've only got this. If you haven't seen the footage, it's quite interesting, because on the footage of the Marines, right, boarding this shadow Russian boat, the cameraman's ahead of them, clearing the stairwell. I mean, it's not for me to say. Why is the cameraman... Sorry, you come with us? We're just going to raid. So he's in front of them. Which is interesting. So it was safe enough for him to already be in front of the Marines before they stormed the ship. I mean, call me cynical, but, you know, quite good and quite convenient and completely seeable, throughable. And, of course, a Makerfield, a by-election update. This week, of course, is the by-election. We have to name all the candidates and behave in a very mature and balanced way. Allies of Andy Burnham have said that if he wins, underline, he will launch an immediate leadership challenge. That's on Friday. Nigel Farage says Britain is now a two-tier state against white people and claims that the toxic ideology of diversity has taken over Whitehall. We learnt this morning, this is brilliant, that white job seekers are being shut out of taxpayer-funded employment schemes with training opportunities given solely to ethnic minorities. Farage is right, but we just won't have the thing. And the other thing that I want to say to you, and listen, I'm just playing it straight. All those people who go, oh, Restore's the answer. Rupert Lowe, over the weekend, says Tommy Robinson can join me. And major articles across the weekend. Restore is the new home for neo-Nazis. The right-wing media have been digging and found out that there's some very unsavoury characters, apparently. No doubt I'll get slagged off for saying that. Couldn't give a rat's arse. 0344 499 1000. There's a prize this morning. Hold on. First voice note. Excuse me, I've got a little bag here. It's like a comedy show. It's a banana. Obviously, now we're out of the European Union, it's a right bent banana, but that's my choice. Don't laugh, Poppy. 0344 499 1000. You text to 87222. Who's going to be first on? I'll tell you who is. Now, this is dedication, ladies and gentlemen, because after 2 years of living in a flat with no windows, covered in dust, Poppy Coburn today is moving to an upmarket part of London. I've helped her get the gig. I'm not going into any more detail. And so dedicated is she to this show. She's come in on the day she's moving, which means the boyfriend's at home packing the boxes.
He's not home packing the boxes. He's fast asleep.
Why?
Because he's lazy. I'll be the one that's packing the boxes.
She said he better be up when I get home or I'll punch him in the head.
I did not say that. I did not say that.
You said if he doesn't move, I'll be punching him.
I said if he doesn't move, I'll punch him in the head, yes.
He's a very lucky man. 0344 499 1000. Where do you want to start? Iran? No, I'm not. I'm sorry.
I mean, I'll be completely honest with you. I saw the news this morning when I came in here and I thought, oh, great, that means I can go on my holiday. That should put the oil prices down. Fantastic.
Oh, where are you going on holiday? Iran?
No. You go straight to Tehran. I hear that Trump is building a nice, you know, water complex, nice luxury high-rises, golden towers. Well, he will eventually, won't he?
Yeah, in Iran.
Trump. Yeah.
Having bombed it all to the... Yeah, OK.
You know, it's probably going to be a good lad's holiday.
Let's talk social media. I'd love to know what you think.
Yeah.
I mean, he's flipped on this many times, Starmer, and you look at everything he does now, which is basically to placate his backbenchers because he knows and they know that he's toast. Under 16s, they'll stop them using 10 of the biggest social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube and X. There were curfews for 16 and 17-year-olds to stop addictive late-night scrolling. I get all of that, but how the bloody hell am I supposed to take that seriously when he's allowing 16-year-olds to vote?
Well, quite. I mean, so I'm part of the social media generation, right? We grew up having smartphones. I mean, I think I was about 14 when I got my first one.
Were you?
I totally understand all the criticisms that people make about social media.
Yep.
Even now, at my age, I still probably waste too much time scrolling on social media. I know it's not good for you, but neither is having a pint, so there you go.
Oh, hold
it's
on,
part
Hannah,
of life,
Spencer's best friend.
Well,
having a pint's not good for
all
you.
in moderation, right? All in moderation, because there's good things and bad things.
Maybe a pint of whiskey like you drink isn't good for you, but yeah, go on.
Good things and bad things about everything.
Yeah, yeah.
But, as you point out, I'm sorry, I don't want to sound like I'm conspiratorial here, but this stinks to high heaven. Because I do not believe for a single second this government actually cares about protecting young people. It's certainly not interested in making their lives better. The only reason it wants to get them to vote, as we all know, is because they think they're going to vote for Labour, although I wouldn't be so sure about that one, particularly amongst young men. But this particular thing, it's come out after a week where there's been a massive debate amongst left-wing politicians saying, I don't like social media because it's inconvenient for me. I can't control the narrative that way. It's run by people like Elon Musk. It's all right-wing. I don't like it. I think this is just the beginning, because if they roll it out for under 16s, they've already put it up, by the way. It's not just under 16s. They're now banning late-night scrolling of under 18s.
How do you ban late-night scrolling from under 18s?
Well,
he sounds like he knows what he's talking about.
Well, that's another good question, because how's this actually going to be regulated? Are we going to have to upload our IDs before we post anything?
Oh, God.
I mean, I don't think it's crazy.
And what about the conspiracy theorists who go, this is the state controlling us, oh my God. I just think it's duplicitously, I think it's just poorly thought through. It's the usual rubbish that he does, and there's no sense to it. He must have known, or somebody must have gone, you do realise if we're telling them they can't do that, we're also expecting them to vote. Andy, good morning.
Morning, Jezza. Andy from Birmingham. Out to work again today, as usual. Pay the tax bill, even though they owe me a few grand anyway. Yeah, about this children's social media ban, I mean, it's pathetic, isn't it? Just more government strangulation and trying to live your lives with you. It should be down to the parents and kids that limit their social media and monitor it when they're under 16. Oh, my God. Do you know what's going to happen now, though, don't they? They're banning all the social media and all the companies and whatever, you know, X and whatever, Snapchat, which the kids love, right? Snapchat have got stuff on where you know where your kids are. My daughter's still 23, still uses it now, knows where everybody in her class was at school and whatever. It's a good thing, but they're going to ban it all. And then they're going to let kids then listen to left-wing teachers tell them all about politics, so they can't even look themselves. It's all pathetic, mate. And on another note, I reckon you're a ringer for the Canadian football manager. See you later. Ta-ra.
Sorry, the Canadian football manager? Who's the Canadian? Oh, apparently we're getting a pick. I don't know who the Canadian football manager is,
I'm
but...
quite excited to see this.
Have Canada got a... Of course you are. It's going to be some old bloke. It's going to be some old bloke. Do you know what my wife said to me this weekend? I said, Jesus, I'm going grey. She went, no, you're looking like a silver fox.
I mean, that's very nice. I was actually going to make a very rude comment. I was going to say, going grey. You've gone grey.
Great.
There we go.
I hope your house falls through. I hope your flat gets trashed today. I hope when you arrive and it's got locusts and mosquitoes. Morning, JK. We are the state. Do as you're told or we'll have you. If kids will need to prove they're old enough to go on social media, adults in the end will have to prove their age as well. Digital ID, anyone? He's right, isn't he?
Why doing it through the back door? I'm sorry, does this government know how to do anything apart from ban? Because it seems like to me every single policy they've done that hasn't involved taking your money and wasting it has involved banning stuff. It doesn't make anything better, does it?
Listen, it's interesting. We spent most of last week talking about beheadings. The fact of the matter is people will have a view. Helen says, I agree with the banjos. In fact, we all benefit from a break. Too much time online causes dopamine depletion, don't know what that means, resulting in lack of motivation and low mood. It also teaches your brain distraction techniques and impacts concentration. It's not good for you.
But that's up to individuals to decide.
But that's what I think, Jez. So you can vote at 16 according to Flip-Flop Starmer with no knowledge of politics from school curriculum or social media, probably just your family. And we know where that leads. Ridiculous. I'm not into banning, manage it, teach kids how to use it responsibly and get off it. It causes stress along with support from social media giants. I mean, I'm a bit old-fashioned, right? That's Jan Ward. Thank you, Jan, in Newcastle. I think The parents... Sorry, it's going to go down like a lead balloon. I think enough parents don't do enough with their kids.
No, they don't.
And Vic always makes me laugh because you go and do something different than sit on your computer. We're all guilty about, oh, I'll have half an hour because I'd like to actually think about what I need to do with my life. But... You know, they say school should teach you this and school... It should start at home, shouldn't it?
It should absolutely start at home. I mean, my family, a lot of people work in schools, and they say they've got kids coming in at primary age who can only function with an iPad in front of them. I'm sorry, like, you can do what you like with technology companies, but as a parent, if you're putting an iPad in front of your newborn baby and that's how they're interfacing with the world, that's a serious problem.
Couldn't agree more. Dave says, bombard your kids with DEI at school, not allow them on the internet, then tell them how to vote. We see you, Labour. You see, people will say that. They will. James says, I'm fully supportive of social media ban for kids. These platforms are not built with developing brains in mind, and the damage they are causing is now being proven, both in terms of health and social impact. A ban at the very least will force the tech companies to build safe platforms for kids. The technology is there, but there's currently no financial incentive to do so. Christina, gang, stopping kids from social media is not a good idea. They are very savvy and will find their way round it. Really interesting. 0344 499 1000. Do we think it should be banned? Do we agree with Captain Flip-Flop? But how in the name of God are you supposed to take it seriously when he wants to ban people at 16 on social media, but he wants them to vote?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's absolutely the point, isn't it?
I mean, it's on one hand, you're infantilising kids. It's the same thing like driving test changes they're making where, like, you can't even drive with your friend in the car, even if you've passed your driving test for the next 5 years. But it's like...
I wouldn't pass the theory. I'm not just saying because Henry's failed the theory twice. No way would I pass my theory test right now.
You know, my sister, she failed it 4 times. Sorry for calling that out to my sister.
How many times did you... What, the theory test?
Yeah, she failed it 4 times. She can drive now, but she said it was really difficult. I've never even taken a single driving lesson, so don't listen to me. I know
You can't drive?
I can't drive.
How are you getting to the flat? The new flat? How's that happening?
Get your moving van, which is actually costing me an arm and a leg.
It's costing you more than the flat you're moving to.
It actually does feel like that.
Is the moving van coming today?
Yeah.
Have you done boxes, his and hers? Toiletries?
His and hers. Most of it's his.
Oh, you haven't got any stuff either? This is a really sad story, isn't it? I've got no home, I've got no friends, my boyfriend's asleep. I'm just painting a really crap picture. Can I tell you what, when we finished the show, Pops, last week, the defence thing, John Healey suddenly resigned. Yes. Dan Jarvis, who I've been into, the Armed Forces Minister, who's sort of a proper soldier, I couldn't understand how he could serve in a government that put through that legacy bill, right? Yeah. He went as well. Starmer stood his ground. Front page of the Daily Telegraph today, there's no more money for defence. Right? OK, so if that's the case, and all the people say to me, hey, but you've gone about this and it's a Cold War and the world was different. Yeah, hold on a second, I'm sure it was. But successive governments, in my opinion, have absolutely failed this country and put us in a completely... I think we're in a really difficult position in terms of our security in the world. But this week, right, he says there's no more money for defence. He goes, Healey, right? Jarvis, and then Jarvis gets the job, right? And what do we read? Raid on Russian shadow vessel, just the beginning. The beginning of what? Us showing that we're strong or something?
Well, this is one vessel that we've intercepted in the channel after literally hundreds have been passing through.
Timing's convenient, isn't it?
Timing is extremely convenient. I mean, I think this is the government basically saying, look, we can still be tough even after Al Qaen's gone, even after John Healey's gone. But the truth is...
Do you agree with me? That's a complete... I think it's just publicity.
It is 100% publicity. By the way, I think it's the right thing to do. I don't think we should be letting Russian ships pass through British waters unimpeded. But the whole point about the defence spending is if you don't put the money to invest in our Royal Navy, which has about 2 ships and one of them doesn't work, then you're not going to be able to do stuff like that in the future.
I completely agree. And here's the thing where, yet again, this pillock, sorry, it falls on his backside. If you are watching on YouTube, there was a cameraman as the Marines took on board this raid, this Russian vessel, in front of the Marines on the stairwell, which meant that if there was anybody dangerous, the cameraman would have been shot. For many of us, without being cynical or conspiratorial, that is absolutely publicity, that is PR, that is we're in control, which makes a mockery, and what makes an even bigger mockery on Send Me Through the Bleeding Roof, and I have to be really careful because they don't like me, there's no money for defence, but the junior doctors, an 11-hour deal, have been given 2 more pay rises in a year. That's an absolute disgrace again. They had 28%. I'm not interested in having an argument with the British Medical Association or whatever, but the defence of our nation, second to junior doctors who had... How does that work?
There is no such thing when this government says, oh, there's not enough money for this, that and the other. They have made a choice.
Yeah.
When Rachel Reeves became our Chancellor at the beginning, she immediately did two things. One, gave handouts to all the public sector workers that Labour voted in, OK? Basically give handouts to their client base. And number two, raised taxes on everyone else. That is the Labour formula, and they're doing the exact same thing with defence. Sorry, there's no money for defence, but there is money for junior doctors. There is money that we're going to pour into the NHS black hole. No, we're not going to do any welfare reform.
Oh, yeah,
no,
of course,
we're not going to do
welfare.
anything about people out of work. So they are making conscious choices. They're basically saying to you, we've got all the money in the world to pay for the migration schemes, all of that stuff. We're going to keep that going because we like it. We're going to do nothing about defence because it's not really our interest. Keir Starmer clearly doesn't care about defence. I mean, John Healey, I think, did care. But he's gone now. I mean, who left in that cabinet actually is going to think of it as a #1 priority?
Couldn't agree more. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. So we've talked social media. They want to ban under-16s but allow them to vote. Don't make any bloody sense. And we've got no money for defence, but we're going to give the doctors a pay rise and we'll do nothing about the benefits bill. 0344 499 1000. Somebody said that they reckon that I'm a dead ringer for the Canadian football manager. Now, I've had this before because I didn't know it was him. Jesse Mashk used to be the... Does that look like me?
I can actually see it. I can see it.
Can we put me up against him or not? He hasn't had Botox, has he? What do you mean he hasn't had Botox, you cheeky git? Hold on.
You need to get more of a tan, I think, if you want to catch up with him.
Oh, what do you mean another picture? We've got another picture.
He's close enough.
Hold on.
Oh, yeah. No, I can really see that. He does look like you.
Does he?
Yeah.
He's skinnier, richer, more successful. Brilliant. Right, anyway, there we go. 0344 499 1000, whatever you want to talk about. This is your show. Morning, Liam.
Morning, Jez. Liam in Yorkshire. Yeah, I don't agree with Starmer on much at all, but a ban on social media for under-16s, I fully agree with. Especially being a dad to 3 girls. I think there's a lot of pressure on being a kid and, in a way, being an adult, because if all the kids' mates have got phones and they're doing this and doing that, and your kid feels like they're left out, and you think, well, you're going to have to get them that, and then they'll download one app, you'll keep an eye on it, and then before you know it, they're wanting another. Well, the mates have got it, so it's like a bit of a spiral effect.
Do you have any idea what it is like to start becoming desensitised to yet another stabbing, an attempted beheading, a gang rape, a sex attack? Do you have any idea? Or is it that you live in your ivory towers with your secure cavalcade of vehicles, so it doesn't matter, doesn't affect you, doesn't affect your family? We pay for your protection. Why aren't you protecting us?
UK on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 6:25. We're live across the UK. Good morning and welcome to Talk Breakfast. It's the home of common sense, and it's about you, alarm clock Brits. What are you waking up to? Captain Flip-Flops decided having not and then and not, he's now going to instigate a under-16s, banning them off social media. 10 of the biggest social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, X. Some of you agreeing, some disagreeing. That's entirely yours. It's just slightly weird to me that apparently he's going to allow 16-year-olds to vote, but they're not mature enough to make their own decisions. I think we all agree control in some way needs to be done, but it needs to be from the parents. Last week, of course, and this morning, Sir Keir or Captain Flip-Flop said there's no more money. There's no more money for defence. Sod the security of this nation. We don't need this. Oh, hold on a minute. Sorry, I thought you'd given the junior doctors another pay rise, haven't you? Oh, but don't worry. Apparently, a tanker, a Russian tanker, because there's been loads of them, it's been seized. Well, our troops have gone on board in the dead of night to prove that we're a strong nation. Led by a cameraman, if you're looking on YouTube, who's already at the bottom of the stairwell. So if there were any bad people, he'd be dead. 0344 419 1000. Bobby Coburn's here. And by the way, forget the big news of the day is she's moving and she's still coming to work. Just tell us, because this is extraordinary. She's had a bloody nightmare, gang.
Oh, I know. I'm going to make my life sound even more depressing, but I had to get a moving van because they were like, you can only move it on Monday, so I couldn't get a friend to drive us round because it's a work day.
Does he do anything, the boyfriend? It's always you organising.
He can't drive either. No, well, he can't drive either, so we had to get a moving van, right? So I was like, fine. I went and compared the man and van, tried to look something cheap. 100 quid is the cheapest possible cost. And I was like, brilliant, OK, fine. You've got to prepay for everything nowadays.
Sorry, you spent 100 quid on a roof van and you're wondering why you have doubts about it?
Yeah. I mean, that's how much it cost, which was not great, considering he's not actually going to lift any of the stuff. That's going to be my shoulders working out this morning.
I wouldn't leave him to drive your stuff there on his own.
No, he's not.
No.
He's not driving it on his own.
But you got it wrong, because she booked him for 9:30, peeps. Then she found out she can't get in the flat till 12:30. He said, I'm not hanging around. He didn't speak like that, but anyway,
I called him 2 weeks in advance. Can you change it? Can you just change it? Plenty of notice.
No.
Hasn't got any booking, no. Because that's what it says on the site. Computer says no. I was like, great. So I was like, well, at least it won't rain. The weather's so nice this weekend. It's going to be absolutely fine. I'll be out there in the sunshine. Maybe I'll be able to get my tan up in the middle of the day. Wake up this morning and what do I see? It's grey skies. So it's going to be raining.
So this man has charged you 100 quid, and I think that tells you everything about him. I'm thinking last time I moved it cost me 6 grand, so I think we're in real trouble.
6 grand?
Yes, 5 men.
It cost you 6 grand?
Yes, it did.
What were you moving? Elephants?
I don't think that's the way to describe my wife at all. She could be listening.
Oh, my God.
That's terrible.
That is very bad of you.
I'm messing, Jumbo. That's what she calls me. I don't even know what's happening this morning. I'm lying. Anyway, back to you. And this bloke's taking 100 quid off you, which is a lot of money, but not really to move you.
Oh, clearly not.
And he's not going to even... when he gets to where they're going, which is 5 minutes away, because she can't work out, he's going to dump everything in the road and it's going to get wet.
Just so I don't look like a complete
idiot.
And
the boyfriend's still in bed.
Just so I don't look like a complete idiot, by the way. We were told we'd be able to let in at 10 a.m. in the morning, and then they changed it, OK? Then they changed the moving time when it was too late for me. So, yeah, it's a bit of a difficult Monday morning start, but I'm still positive.
We're very glad you're here. Not as bad a Monday morning as, indeed, Keir Starmer has. Flip-flop Starmer. Good morning, Jez and Pops. So Kim Jong-Starmer has lied to Parliament again. He said about increasing the budget for defence, but now there's no more money. Lies, lies, lies. Bear the bus driver. Bear the bus driver. Is that allowed? I don't know. Graham, Jez, how come Starmer can't stop small boats in the Channel, yet he can stop a massive tanker? What a fantastic question.
That's a
what
very
a fantastic
good point.
question.
They're too small for him to see. Yeah, we can do massive
true. Hold on a
boats.
second. We can stop this, apparently, by sending a cameraman on.
It's the only boat they've stopped.
But we can't stop a small... Graham, absolutely brilliant. Left-wing Blue Sky social media platform is not on the banned list for under-16s. Just saying, says Norman. Wow. Rogers in Wales, is it? This could be Christian's father. Starmer has as much chance to block kids off social media as becoming a popular PM. Kids will always find a way around the ban with technology. Chatting can already be done underneath the internet. You see, in my days, it was underneath the duvet. I'm not.
Oh, my God.
What? What? You had a chat underneath the duvet? What's wrong with it?
What does that mean?
Hello?
What?
I don't even know what I'm saying. You never built a den?
No.
I spend my weekends building dens, not for myself, for my children, I'd like to point out.
Oh,
I've become really adept at that.
Right.
No, honestly, that's what Vic and I do. We just put blankets over chairs and sit there.
That's probably why your moving
Sucking
costs are
on a
so expensive.
Satsuma. What?
You've got to move your full den from place to place. That's probably why the moving
there were
van costs
loads, but there was like 500 boxes.
500 boxes?
And they had to come and pack it and then put it in glass. I don't know. and then at the other end they have to take it all out because that's far too
You're
stressful.
not touching it.
No, I went to the last time we moved. Vic said, "Do you like some breakfast?" This is genuinely true, and I said, "Yeah, I would actually." Yeah. So I had some breakfast, sat in my chair, watching the television, and when I came home, 14 hours later. She said, "Would you like a drink?" And I sat in the chair and had a drink, and then we had some dinner, and it was just that the chair and the drink at the table was in a different house. I can't... That's far too stressful for a man with OCD. Can you imagine? That's the worst day of my life, moving house. Honestly.
Is it?
I once sold a car because the ashtray was full. Let's not talk about me. Morning, Jake. Honestly, can't handle mess. Morning, why do you think Dean last week was a nightmare? Morning, joking, Dean. Morning, Jake and Poppy. I enjoyed Saturday's Troop in the Colour. Right. The crowds were huge, the fly past was spectacular. Right. The only negative for me were the sport toddlers of Republic chanting, "Not my king." Well, I've got news for them. He is your king. If you're a British subject, no matter what great things we do, we get attention-seeking toddlers spoiling it for everyone.
Well, very true. I did actually see a video of them chanting at Kate, which I thought was completely ridiculous.
Well, listen, I'm a royalist, but the monarchy needs... It's another subject. Needs to be more transparent. Morning, Jeremy and Poppy. So our armed forces have boarded a Russian oil tanker. Hasn't the government been buying Russian oil? I might be cynical, but if this ship... Is this ship not bound for the UK anyway? The UK is now buying oil from Russia, so Russia can buy Chinese missiles to fire at the Ukraine. Even in Starmer's brain, it doesn't make any sense.
You know what's a really funny aspect of this story that I heard someone bring up, someone with lots of naval experience? Because of our asylum law, the moment that we actually seize that boat, because it's full of foreign nationals, if we actually now bring it into the United Kingdom, they're all eligible to claim asylum. So apparently one of the reasons that they didn't seize the boats earlier was because they were worried that it's not just small boats that people are coming in and claiming asylum, it would be big boats too. So that would be a perfect end to this story, wouldn't it?
I just, honestly... Hello, Jez. Our Navy intercepting a Russian ship. How convenient they'll be telling us we landed on the moon next, Lee in Market Harborough. Now, oh, hold on a second. Don't worry about going grey, Jez. Don't listen to her. Men are like a fine wine.
Very nice. Men are like a fine wine.
Don't start talking about corks. Right, listen, let's move on to the Makerfield by-election. Obviously this Thursday, and obviously for people who know 03444... Oh, hold on a second, let's go to Adrian first. Morning, Adi.
Good morning, Jeremy. Good morning, Poppy. It's a really lovely day in Sussex today. This is Adrian. Yeah, this social media ban for 16-year-olds, this government doesn't give a tinker's what's it about people. All they concerned about power, and this is the beginning. You watch. The next thing is it will be VPNs will be banned because that's how kids are getting around getting around the 16 ban, and then it will be you've got to register something else, and then it will go to 20-year-olds, and then it will go to everybody. And then it will be a digital ID, and then you'll be having to buy a ticket to move out of a particular area, just like in China.
Yeah. You'll have to buy a ticket to move out your flat. Sorry, can we... Very nice to hear from you, Adrian. Can we take the one thing that stuck out of that voice there? A tinker's what's it?
Tinker's what's it?
What's a tinker's what's it?
That's lovely. I'm going to start using that one, tinker's what's it.
We've all eaten a cheesy what's it. You know, do you like what's it?
I love what's it. Twiglets, actually, for me.
Twiglets?
Why does nobody know what twiglets are?
I know what twiglets are.
No, but no, I was talking to someone at work about it. They never heard of twiglets. I was explaining them to them, and they're looking at me like I was nuts.
They're things you have at Christmas, like dates and figs.
Yeah.
Aren't they?
Yeah.
We used to have a plate. We used to have a packet of dates on sideboards.
They look like little twiglets. They've got Marmite on them. They're absolutely
Marmite?
delicious. Yeah, it's Marmite.
Are you
flavoured.
a veggie?
No.
No. You're homeless, but there we go. Can I bring it to Makerfield, please? Allies of Andy Burnham, who could or could not win, we don't know, say that he will launch an immediate leadership challenge if he wins on Thursday. Nigel Farage has also been campaigning in Makerfield. He says that Britain is a two-tier state against white people and claims that the toxic ideology of diversity has taken over Whitehall, which, for many people, probably needs to be said. What I found really, really, really fascinatingly awful, and I think it's page 9 of the Daily Telegraph, we've learned today that white job seekers are being shut out of taxpayer-funded employment schemes with training opportunities going solely to ethnic minorities.
Well, quite. I thought the reaction to... So this is from Nigel Farage's new Substack essay.
Yeah.
I thought it was absolutely fantastic, full of stats, very data-focused, data-forward. It basically made it impossible to argue against if you'd actually read it, because there's examples of every single thing he says. So it sounds like it's quite, oh, OK, that's full-on. But he's backed it up with facts. So then, of course, all the politicians come forward and say, isn't this awful? You get these Tory frontline peers go, oh, how dare you say this? Obviously, the Lib Dems, Ed Davey, how dare you say this? And then, what a coincidence. His line about Britain being a two-tier state is immediately backed up in just yet another story that we seem to have daily now of proof of the fact that white people in Britain are treated differently. I mean, it's true. I'm sorry, it's true. And I find it so irritating when you do hear politicians refuse to even have a conversation about this stuff.
It's really interesting watching the politicians in the Commons when he stood up and he said there was two-tier policing, and this today as well. Yeah, I read the Substack, and it is absolutely true. This is not Farage. White job seekers are being shut out of taxpayer-funded employment schemes because ethnic minority box ticking is more important. That is appalling. If you say that, you're called racist, you're called this, you're called that. It's a fact.
It's
an
just
absolute
fact. Yeah,
fact.
it's a fact.
I am all for acknowledging, as I did last week, that in the 70s and 80s there was racism in the police and there was great unfairness on the streets and whatever. But we have gone so damn far the other way that until it gets called out for what it is, you're wasting your time. It's an absolute fact. I also want to push on. It's all about Makerfield. You might have heard in the everybody's got to say Restore, which is Rupert Lowe's party, have been making waves in Makerfield, and many people have been writing over the weekend that it could be that Restore do that well that they prevent Reform from doing as well as they hope to do, and Andy Burnham gets a way in. Overnight, Rupert Lowe says that far-right Tommy Robinson is welcome to join his party as opposition politicians issue warning. Restore is the new home for neo-Nazis. Several articles over the weekend pinpointing members who'd been at some neo-Nazi conference somewhere in Europe, I think Austria. There's a lot of people who are big fans of Restore, big fans of Reform, big fans of, well, not so much the Tories and the Greens, but certainly Labour. But Restore's making a lot of noise, and with that, Pops, comes greater focus, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how Rupert actually responds to this himself, because, you know, he doesn't run his own social media accounts, and I sometimes think when you listen to interviews of him, he's quite out of step with the online persona that he has. And I sometimes do wonder when people see Restore as basically a less tainted version of Reform, that they're not actually getting the full picture exactly what's happening here. And it's also true, like, if you set up a new party and you don't really want to be a membership, you are going to get people like Tommy Robinson joining. I mean, that's something that Nigel Farage has been talking about for decades. He was basically the person holding back different sections of the right. I mean, he said that before, and the left gave him a load of rubbish for it, but it's true. He was actually holding back a lot of sections of the unsavoury sections of the right. If Rupert Lowe blocks Reform from winning in Makerfield, and if Andy Burnham wins, he challenges Keir Starmer to be Prime Minister and becomes Prime Minister, I imagine that will be very damaging for the right as a whole, because Andy Burnham has a few things that Keir Starmer doesn't have, which is he's actually going to be able to do stuff in Parliament. So if you think Keir Starmer is bad, Andy Burnham will be quite dangerous for you.
I think it will be bad for the right, but I think in terms of the bigger picture, I think this shining a light on Restore for what Restore is massively important. And I think that Reform against Restore look a far more sensible alternative.
Well, I think...
And in fact, I think it sets them out in a much better light.
I agree. You know, Reform's a mainstream party now.
Yes, it
is.
It doesn't just happen overnight on social media, led by Musk, which is what's happening, right?
Farage is very good at, like, picking out where public opinion is actually moving to, and the country has been shifting towards the right, particularly on the issue of immigration. And I think if that's what you want, if you are so concerned because you're seeing scenes like we saw in Belfast, if you're seeing, you know, treatment like people like Henry Novak, and you're going, we need order restored to this country and we need it to happen as soon as possible, there's only one party that is going to be able to do that, and that is Reform. I mean, that is the truth. And I just think this is kind of a personal dispute that has been playing out between Rupert
I
and
also
Nigel.
think, and we have to be careful because we're in Twitter, but I also think that if Burnham gets in, challenges Starmer, moves this government even further left than Starmer, which is definitely going to happen, I believe a lot of finger-pointing. If Restore comes through and prevents, as you said, it could happen, I think there will be a lot of finger-pointing and a lot of soul-searching. So listen, it's up to the people. I'm going to do what I have to do, because this is a professional... This is a professional broadcasting outfit. You do realise that, don't you? Yeah?
Of course I do.
Not really. 20 minutes to 7 o'clock. Here's your list of Makerfield candidates. This is a public service announcement. Jake Austin stands for the Liberal Democrats. Count Binface for his own party, Count Binface Party. Andy Burnham, of course, the Labour Party. Dan Clark, the Libertarian Party. John Dyer for the Independents. Ed Gemmell, the Climate Party. Paul Gould, the Independent. Alan Howling, Lord Hope, the official monster raving loony party. Robert Kenyon, Reform UK. Robert Pownall, Protect the Wild. Rebecca Shepherd, Restore Britain. Sarah Wakefield, the Green Party. Peter Ward, Rejoin the EU. And Michael Winstanley, the Conservative Party. That's your list of candidates.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 18 minutes to 7. The Deputy Leader of Reform UK, Richard Tice, on the way. Jezza and the delightful Poppy. Happy Monday, both. What rubbish will the UK produce this week? Plenty of it. Gary and Brecon. Have you been to Brecon? Brilliant. She's not even listening to me.
Brecon?
Is it Brecon or Brecon?
Brecon.
It's embarrassing, wasn't it? Morning, Dave. All right, you don't need to laugh at me. I hope all your stuff gets wet in the rain later when you move in
you're
flat.
so bitter.
I hope all your cardboard boxes go all soggy. I'm joking. I don't know why I said that. It's horrible.
That is really bitter. Just I said you have grey hair once, and now you've not moved on.
Well, I haven't got grey hair once. I'm going grey everywhere. It's an absolute... No,
going grey. Sorry, not going grey. Gone grey.
Is that all right? But no silver fox about me at all.
Is it silver or is it grey?
I think men look better the older they get.
Oh, do you? That's convenient.
Morning, Jezza and Puppet. So we can stop a bloody Russian tanker in the Channel, but we can't stop a rubber dinghy with migrants. Charles says, does Starmer actually have a bleeding brain? He wants to give 16-year-olds the vote, but take away their social media until the actual day they can vote. The one party the 16-year-olds won't be voting for is the party that has taken away their bloody internet use, which is the Labour Party. Hi, Jez. Oh, here we go. If Poppy has to wait outside a new gaff in the rain, ask her if she wants to buy a gazebo. I have one, says Keith in Nottingham. I'm waiting for grown men who run removal companies to say, we'll come round and look after Poppy, don't you? I'll do it for 125
I was going to say, I'm such a cheapskate, they're not going to bother.
No, that's absolutely true. 17 minutes to 7. Let's say a very good morning, legendary man, Deputy Leader of Reform, Richard Tice. Good morning. Happy Monday, my friend.
Happy Monday. I'm not calling from Brecon, but it is Brecon, not Brecon.
All right, all right. And you've obviously dyed your hair and I haven't, so don't start on me.
It's just natural and you're just jealous, Mr. Kyle.
Somebody said you should try Just Grey. I said I'm too bloody late. Richard, yeah, we're feeling slightly sorry for Poppy. She's moving. Couple of things I wanted to ask you about today. Well, 3 things. Let's start with Captain Flip-Flop on social media. We can cut through. There's a lot about social media a lot of us as parents don't like. Personally, I'm old-fashioned, Richard, and I think the parents need to be more in control. there's no doubt tech could do more, but it's so completely duplicitous for a party that's giving 16-year-olds the vote and then telling them you're not allowed or don't have the maturity to make a decision on social media. Isn't that the point?
Well, they're just all over the place on this. Once again, Captain Flip-Flop, he's been against it until suddenly the pressure's massively on, and all of a sudden he's now for it. Look, there's been an experiment going on in Australia, and there may be some things that are working, but the reality is that young people are better than anybody at finding ways around online any form of hurdles put in the way. And the answer to this, of course, we all want to protect our children and young people, but the answer is what we call handset tech-led solutions that prevent horrific images from appearing at the last second on the screen. That will be much, much more effective and faster, and parents can be in much more control of it than legislation and hoping that everyone will abide by the rules, because most young people know how to use a VPN, and within a few minutes you found your way around all of the restrictions that some form of Westminster law might put in place.
And of course the cynics will quite rightly point, as you just did at the beginning, to the fact that does he actually believe this, or is he doing what he usually does, which is to try and shore up his completely impossible position politically by trying to curry favour with the Parliamentary Labour Party, who won't even let him do the most important thing, which is try and do something about our outrageous and utterly useless welfare bill. I agree with you on that. The other thing is, show finished on Thursday, and just literally as we came off air, John Healey, who I think was probably one of the more decent members of the Labour front bench, if I'm honest, followed quickly by Dan Jarvis, the Armed Forces Minister, used to be in the Army, both resigning.
Followed by Al Khan's. Dan Jarvis is the new...
Well done. I'm having a really crap morning, and you're laughing again, aren't you? Of course.
Just helping you, my good friend.
Thank you so much. Al Khan's, of course, yeah. And to be fair, when I listen to them say... We've stayed and we've tried to believe that you were going to give more money to defence. It's laid bare this morning. Starmer says, Richard, there's no more money from defence. And then I come into work and I find out that the government has agreed to an 11th hour deal that will see the bloody junior doctors get 2 more pay rises. They do not care about the defence of our nation, do they?
No, they don't. And they found money for doctors. They found a few billion quid at the back end of last week for cycle lanes. Oh. So it would appear that it's more important to cycle around the country than protect the British citizens living in the country, according to this bunch of socialists. Now, I mean, the 2 letters of resignation from John Healey and Al Khan were some of the most devastating resignation letters ever written. And they confirm basically that Rachel Reeves is unwilling to fund the defence of the nation. Keir Starmer is unable to fund the defence of the nation. In other words, he's a complete puppet to his own backbenchers. And then Al Khan's also put the boot in and said, basically, neither John Healey nor Al Khan's had any involvement in the preparation of this defence investment plan. They just got handed it at the beginning of last week. They both think it's unfit for purpose. It's looking at yesterday's war, not tomorrow's war. And then Al Khan's confirmed what we've all sort of suspected, which is that he's raging furious at the betrayal of our brave, wonderful veterans because of the Northern Ireland Legacy Bill.
Absolutely. I actually, I think this. I had some friends over. Yes, I've got some. And one of them's ex-Army, 30 years, top man, was a captain, spitting feathers about the Legacy Bill. He said, I'm 50-something and I'm waiting for a knock on the door. You ask men and women to put that uniform on. I mean, for me, and I will rant about this forever, I think it is utterly disgraceful. And to throw into the mix, we're giving immunity to the IRA, who used to make it their job to bomb people in the streets of Northern Ireland. Absolutely outrageous. And they get found out, don't they? They get found out because there's no money for defence, and the story goes further. Big news story over the weekend, raid on Russian shadow vessel, just the beginning. Now, you might go, oh, Kyle, you've gone all conspiratorial. Have you seen the footage? The bloody cameraman's halfway up the stairwell before the Marines even come through the door. To me, that was absolutely about PR and looking like we're important. And here's a question for you, Richard, as a Reform MP. we're able to stop a Russian tanker suddenly, but we can't stop a bloody rubber dinghy full of migrants. How does that work?
Well, you know exactly how it works. It's called political convenience. Isn't it convenient?
Yeah.
That all of a sudden this operation, and we commend them on the skill and method of execution, of course, but the reality is the timing of this is more than just a coincidence. This is to try and prop up an ailing, failing Prime Minister, who I asked last Wednesday in the House of Commons to resign. And frankly, that's the mood of the country, including his own backbenchers, which is why you want to keep a very close eye on Al Khans and John Healey. I suspect that that Mr. Burnham, in the event that he wins the very, very close by-election, I suspect that he won't have it all plain sailing. There could be a very messy leadership contest over the coming weeks. Anything could happen.
Of course, let's talk Makerfield. Andy Burnham, his allies say he's ready to launch an immediate challenge. Interesting. I know you and I have to do my job correctly, your reform. The right of this weekend, look at the smile, the right of this weekend, the right-wing media have come out and they've shone the light on Rupert Lowe, ex-reformer who set up Restore, who overnight has said that right-wing Tommy Robinson is welcome to join his party. We know that Restore's social media campaign, backed by Musk, is making inroads. We know that there are many people associated with that party that are not palatable. Are you concerned about the Restore vote in Makerfield, Richard Tice?
No.
That's it.
I'm just telling it as it is. Quality, not quantity, is what you want on your show, isn't it, Jeremy?
Yes, that's true. But I'm being serious. Do you want to know? Do you want to know my opinion? I believe it's slightly concerning, as Poppy was saying earlier. And this isn't into individuals, that social media actually weirdly is running this campaign backed by people not in this country. But what has to be said is that the right, if it tears itself together or apart, and Andy Burnham gets into Westminster at the end of this week as a result of that, I know the British public, and they will target whoever has made that happen. There's no doubt about that, which is why there are calm heads in other areas. Can I put something to you that your... Well, he's not really your boss, is he? But Nigel Farage said, because this is fascinating. He launched his Substack yesterday. Even I know what that is. And he says that a two-tier state against white people is happening, claims that the toxic ideology of diversity has taken over Whitehall. Well, lo and behold, Richard Tice, we discovered this morning that white job seekers are being shut out of taxpayer-funded employment schemes, with training opportunities going solely to ethnic minorities. Nigel backed that Substack out, as Poppy said, with data. Data-driven it was, and the facts speak for themselves, don't they?
They absolutely do, and the evidence is crystal clear across chunks of the public sector. And this is all the unintended consequences of a well-meaning act back in 2010, but it's actually working in what we call positive discrimination against white people. And all of the public sector are taking it to way, way beyond what was ever envisaged. And it's got to stop. And Nigel quite rightly has called that out. And the Labour Party are tearing themselves apart in the last 24 hours trying to attack us for it. They're totally out of touch, totally in denial of the fury of the British people, not only around the dreadful two-tier policing, but around the two-tier employment, the two-tier training, the two-tier job market. And if you are, that is the reality. If you are a young, hard-working white person, you will struggle to get the same job opportunities now in the public sector than a young person of a similar mindset if you're an ethnic minority. It is as simple as that, and that is a reverse form of racism. Let's call it out for what it is.
And it's interesting for me. I mean, I said I was with the boss of probably the biggest media organisation in this country the other day, and he said, if you're 22, 3, 4, and you come out of university as a white middle-class young man or woman with a degree in journalism, you are behind the 8 ball. I don't care what anybody tells me, it's become box-ticking. And we can all as a society say there were problems, but we can also be honest and say we've gone so far in the other way. And what I find fascinating, Richard, is that, you know, what you've just said 5 years ago, you'd probably been locked up and put in the stocks, but it's a fact. And when those MPs in the Commons don't like to hear somebody saying there's two-tier policing, and when they sit there and they laugh, I get offended because there are millions and millions of people in this country who are not racist or misogynistic or homophobic or whatever the hell they get accused of being. They're just saying it how it is. And what I thought was good about that, as Poppy said about Nigel yesterday, was that it was data-driven and it's proven and it's not BS. It's fact, isn't it? It needs to be called out.
It's all there and it does need to be called out. And we've got to do something about it. And I just... In a sense, we call it out, and guess what? We continue to lead by a substantial margin in all of the national polls. We're well over 300 national polls ahead, and the other parties are trailing in our wake. So I think, actually, people are voting with their feet. And
just to finish, you obviously aren't going great. Are you going to Brecon for your honeymoon?
Wherever we go, Jeremy, regrettably, I know this is a shock to you, but you're not invited.
Brilliant. I really have had it this morning. That's very nice. Well, thank you, Tice. That's very good. He doesn't tell the truth that I'm actually doing the DJing at the wedding. See you later, mate. Good luck. Thank you very much indeed. Richard Tice there. This is for you. Morning, Graham. This is for Poppy.
Hello, Jez. Hello, Poppy. Just got a quick note for Poppy. If she thinks that £100 is expensive to hire a driver and a van to move her stuff, with all due respect, you need a wake-up check. That is dirt cheap. Seriously, I've known removal companies, like Jez has said, 6,000. That's not uncommon, to be honest with you. It's, you know, that driver's got to pay his wages, his fuel, his insurance. He's not making a lot out of that £100, Poppy.
What he's trying to say is, do not let that bloke go with your stuff, OK? Make sure you're in the cab today.
I hate being a grown-up. It's rubbish being a grown-up.
I'd have sorted it for you.
You just, what, you
I'd
sorted
have got
it?
you
How much would you have charged me?
I did nothing. I'd have got it for you free.
You would have got me a free removal
Of course,
van.
if you just asked me.
Can you do it now?
Well, it's a bit late now, isn't it? But I could have got you somebody that would have done that for you in a far better way. But then I think your boyfriend should have the cojones to say, darling, you work hard, you're amazing, I love you, I'm going to sort it out for you. And where is he? I mean, I'm not trying to just dish you related. Asleep.
Fast asleep.
Fast asleep. And all you're doing is worrying about cardboard boxes.
Not carrying the box.
Listen, we love you. Good luck today. Thank you for coming in, Poppy Coburn. If there's anything you need, give us a shout, all right?
No, I'll let you know. Well, you'll see me on Thursday. Hopefully, I'll still have all my belongings with me.
I will.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, well, I'm going to... Yeah, anyway. Good luck with the move, Poppy Coburn. You're a legend. Thank you very much indeed. Here is the list of your Makerfield by-election candidates. It's a political must. Enjoy. Jake Austin stands for the Liberal Democrats, Count Binface for his own party, Count Binface Party, Andy Burnham, of course, the Labour Party, Dan Clark, the Libertarian Party, John Dyer for the Independents, Ed Gemmell, the Climate Party, Paul Gould, the Independent, Alan Howling, Lord Hope, the official monster raving loony party, Robert Kenyon, Reform UK, Robert Pownall, Protect the Wild, Rebecca Shepherd, Restore Britain, Sarah Wakefield, the Green Party, Peter Ward, Rejoin the EU, and Michael Stanley, the Conservative Party. That's your list of candidates.
got some breaking news that has just come in. TalkSport have announced a brand new partnership in a developing story. We hear they've created So Good Lager right in time for football's big summer. Just in, we're hearing that So Good Lager will be pouring pints across all O'Neill's pubs and some of the best sports pubs across the UK. With the big kickoff just around the corner, you can find out where to get your hands on a fresh pint of So Good Lager at talksport.com/lager.
None of it's free, it's subsidised and paid for by the taxpayer. And we're in this constant situation where the government's answer to everything is tax us a bit more, take more of our money, and then give some more of it away generously. It's our sodding money they're giving away.
Yeah, exactly. And it's either someone else's money today, another taxpayer, or even worse, it's...
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hey, very good morning. Welcome along or welcome back. Just gone 7 o'clock, Monday, 15th of June. This is Talk, the home of common sense, of course, and the home of the alarm clock. Brit, the news, your views on the day's news, very important. We'll lay out in a sec, 0344 499 1000. Only number you need. Leave us a voice note. You can text us, 87222. Start your message of the word talk. Three big stories in town. Social media today, and I think he's speaking at 8 o'clock. Keir Starmer has finally decided a full social media ban for under 16s will be announced. 10 of the biggest social media platforms, including TikTok and Instagram, YouTube and X. He says there will be curfews. I am going to stop addictive late-night scrolling. You might have an opinion, you might be for that, you might be against it, you might think parents should step up more. Here's the hypocrisy, though, from the Labour Party and old Captain Flip-Flop. You're old enough to vote at 16 because I desperately would like you to vote for me, but you're not old enough to make a decision about social media. That sums up Keir Starmer. 0344 499 1000. Also, over the weekend, back end of last week before we finished, John Healey, the Defence Secretary, and Al Khan's, the Armed Forces Minister, resigning, and as Richard Tice just said, excruciatingly bad, resignation letters, basically saying to Starmer, you will not defend this country. This isn't just on him, the Tories. They cut defence spending for years. Somebody told me at the weekend, we now have more illegal migrants that have come into this country in a year than are in all three combined forces. How bad's that? Today, Starmer admitting in the Telegraph there's no more money for defence. Can somebody please explain to me in Downing Street then, when I came in this morning, I discovered you've given 2 more pay rises to the BMA, the junior doctors. They had 28% a year ago, and now they're getting another one. Now, I don't want to get into an argument with them, but here's the thing. You don't want to defend our country over giving your mates rises from unions. How the bloody hell does that work? That's unfair. And then let's talk about Makerfield, right? Let's talk about it. Nigel Farage launched his Substack yesterday online, which basically said there is a 2-tier state in this country against white people. He claims that the toxic ideology of diversity has taken over Whitehall. Cue every single left-wing politician, including that idiot Davey. You're an outrage, you're racist, you're whatever. Whatever you think about Farage, at least he has the cojones to say it, because this morning it's turned out that white job seekers, ladies and gentlemen, are being shut out of taxpayer-funded employment schemes, with training opportunities going solely to ethnic minorities so they can indeed tick a box. 0344 499 1000. Morning, Jake.
Morning, Jez. A great show as always. Just want to point out this ban on under 16s and under. Having a ban, pornography and stuff like that should be banned from youngsters, totally agree, but they want to give them the vote at 16. Is that because they can indoctrinate them and brainwash them in the colleges and schools, and then they can't see nothing on social media about the real world, because they're not going to get anything from the BBC or Sly News, are they? Let's be honest. And there you go. It's Labour again thinking of their votes, isn't it, in a couple of years?
Loads of response to this social media ban. Dennis in Manchester, Jez, good morning. I just want to say that this government, in my mind, has got its priorities all wrong. Rather than trying to fix the country, they're doubling down on the wrong things with this social media ban. They're trying to ban social media for under 16s, which I'm not sure I agree with, but they're not stopping online gaming, where there's as much cyberbullying as on the socials. They're telling 16 and 17-year-olds, you're old enough to have children, you're old enough to vote in the next general election, but you're not old enough to watch the highlights of a football game at 8:30 p.m. And they're telling the rest of us we want to control the algorithms that bring up what social media shows you. Honestly, in my mind, a complete disgrace. Sorry to sound like an old git, but I think I've turned into one. 0344 499 1000. Let's say a very good morning. I love this man. Just check him out online. Spiked online. Chief political writer Brendan O'Neill. Morning, B. How are you?
Hi, Jeremy. How's it going?
Well, last week we had obviously the horrors in Belfast, and you come in and you think it's going to be a nice... No, it's not going to be a nice, quiet day. Captain Flip-Flop, who's about to speak at 8 o'clock, has decided... And I never know where he stands on this stuff, because he didn't want to ban them, then he did, then he didn't. Everything this man does, Keir Starmer, is governed by the Parliamentary Labour Party. At 8 o'clock he will announce this ban. And I absolutely understand that addictive late-night scrolling is not conducive to mental fortitude. But he's going to allow them to vote at 16 but take away the choice of social media. He's a hypocrite, Brendan, isn't he?
Complete hypocrite. You know, if you're 16 or 17, you can vote soon enough. You can go and join the army and fight for your country, but you can't watch YouTube at, 8 p.m. at night or whatever it is. It's preposterous. It's ridiculous. And it really demonstrates, actually, that the votes for 16-year-olds is such a cynical ruse by the Labour Party. They basically just want to build a whole new army of voters. What they don't seem to realise is that most 16-year-olds would probably vote Green anyway, rather than Labour. But, that's what that's all about. They are happy to treat them like children when it comes to social media, but then they want to treat them like adults when it comes to hopefully getting a few of their votes. A bunch of complete hypocrites, I think.
And with this new generation, at the risk of sounding, old-fashioned, I grew up, I worked on terrestrial television. Terrestrial television's dead. I don't care what anybody bloody well tells you. It's all about online and clickbait and stuff. I'm learning that doing this show. But you're basically saying to 16-year-olds, we're going to ban you from watching or finding out the reasons that you should be interested in what's happening to this country and forge an opinion. So how are they going to know? I'm going to stick my neck on the line. A lot of people hate me for this. I don't think you're old enough to vote at 16. I'm sorry, I don't think you've had enough life experience. And I'm not talking about doing your GCSEs. It's complete... It's too... To me, everything's too quick nowadays. Everything's too... It's too much. It's 16. I didn't know my arse from my elbow at 16. I'll go buy my own kid, right? I'm sorry, I think it's too much. And then you go, well, we're going to control this, but we want your vote. I don't think many 16-year-olds would vote for Keir Starmer, if you want me to be honest. And I would hate to think, at the risk of being unfair, I'd hate to think that this country's future is in the hands of 16-year-olds who either don't give a toss or don't know what they're talking about.
Absolutely. They should not have the right to vote. And that's not an insult against 16-year-olds. There's a lot of clever 16-year-olds, but there's also a lot of 16-year-olds who are still a bit wet behind the ears. They don't really understand the country. They don't understand the world. We all remember what we were like when we were 16, a bit stupid, going out and doing silly things. They're not the kind of people who should vote. But, the most telling thing about that is there's no big movement amongst 16-year-olds for the right to vote. Like there was amongst women in the early 1900s. There was the suffragette movement. They demanded the right to vote. There was a movement amongst working class men in the 1840s demanding the right to vote. 16-year-olds are not on the streets demanding the right to vote. They're being gifted it by the Labour establishment, which is so desperate and has lost the trust of so many working class adults that it is turning children in a desperate attempt to prop up its authoritarian power. We can all see right through it.
I bet you're looking forward to him speaking at 8 o'clock. God.
It'd be great fun, won't it?
No. The other thing is this defence thing, and I really want to have this with you, because people who are tuning in right now, when we finished last week, John Healey, the Defence Secretary, one of the more sane members of the front bench, if you want me to be honest, and Al Carnes, the ex-Para, I think he was in the parachute measurement, they both resigned, saying, I mean, pretty near the win, they said to Starmer, you're a liar, you will not vote to defend this country, and we can't do this anymore, this review that's taken months to bring to the table. Starmer today, front page of the Telegraph, we've no money. We've absolutely no money for defence. It's gone. And yet, and I'll get slaughtered, overnight, 2 new pay rises to the junior doctors. So you give your union mates pay rises or you bung money into the black hole of the NHS, but apparently you're not prepared to defend the United Kingdom. Disgraceful, man. Disgraceful.
Really disgraceful. I actually think the defence resignations are even more serious than lots of people realise.
I agree.
This is not just like Wes Streeting flouncing out and saying I'm going off or anything else. This is incredibly serious. The Defence Minister, the Armed Forces Minister, both resigning on the same evening, and both accusing them of accusing the Prime Minister of failing to defend the country. Because what's happened under Starmer and under previous governments is that we have become a defenceless realm. We are the undefended kingdom. We don't have an army to speak of, or certainly it's not been funded properly. There's loads of good young men and women in the armed forces, but they're not getting the kit and the funding that they need. Also, we're not policing our borders. We're letting in all sorts of people, including people who go on to carry out rapes and murders and attempted beheadings, as we saw in Belfast. We have let our borders go to rack and ruin. We are an undefended country. That is incredibly serious. And I think those 2 events of last week, the defence resignations and the grotesque attack in Belfast, they spring from the same source, which is that we are ruled by people who don't give a damn about the security of the nation. That could not be more serious.
I absolutely agree with you. And just now, I've obviously been doing this a tad too long because the story that's really sort of resonated today, this tanker, so this is raid on Russian shadow vessel, just the beginning. So over the weekend, without appearing to be too cynical, a Russian tanker was in English waters. Now, there's been quite a few hundred of them in the last few months, and no bugger's done anything. On the back of your Defence Secretary and Armed Forces Minister resigning and you having to admit there's no money in your world to increase defence because you'd rather spend it on welfare, we suddenly board this vessel. I would respectfully suggest, Brendan O'Neill, that is to make us look strong. But worse than all of that is this, picked up by the brilliant Christian. How's the bloody cameraman ahead of the Marines clearing the stairwell if it's such a dangerous position? That is staged and that is made to look us... And I'm not disrespecting the men and women that did that, but that, I'm sorry, is a political move, isn't it?
I couldn't agree more. When I saw that, I thought this looks like a stunt. And you can tell from where the camera person is, you can tell by the way it's shot, it looks like a performative action designed to prove that we're actually serious about defence when we all know that we're not. Yeah, complete stunt. And, you know, the fact that they will show images like that at the same time that Russia knows that we are weak. Russia, you know, whatever else you might say about the Russian regime, they're not stupid. They know that we're not spending the money we need to spend on our defence. They know that we've got a woke army that is, you know, encourages soldiers to be, you know, all kind of emotional and to, you know, not use the incorrect language and not use gendered pronouns, all the rest of it. We've all heard those stories. Our enemies are looking at us and laughing.
Yeah.
They are laughing at the fact that our borders are broken. They're laughing at the fact that we let in people with extremist views who go on to carry out awful acts. They're laughing at the fact that we're not funding the military that is supposed to defend the nation. Our enemies are lapping this up. And this little clip that they put out will not change that.
Well, I'm going to jump in now because you and I, you'll use this for the rest of the day and so will I. A very good morning. I don't know who it is. It's anonymous. You ready for this? Ches, if the Marines have boarded a Russian tanker, could some bugger please explain to me why the signs on the walls as they go down the stairs inside the tanker are in English? There's a lovely green exit sign.
Yeah, I mean, what are we supposed to make of this? You know, people on the internet are going to have a field day with this video footage. They're going to be asking so many questions about it. Where was it filmed? What's it all about? Why was it done? It seems pretty transparently to be an attempt to restore confidence in the nation. But I'm afraid Starmer or whoever is in charge of this operation is going to take a lot more.
He just doesn't get it, man, does he? People are too savvy. You want to stop social media for 16-year-olds in the guise of being caring, but you want to give them the vote. don't want to spend money on defence, not because it isn't their style, but because you prioritise the welfare bill and you prioritise junior doctors over the defence of our nation. And you put out some poxy video and expect us all to go, oh, we're really strong and everything's going really well. I want to touch upon Makerfield with you. You know the rules. We'll do a list of candidates standing, Purda, blah, blah, blah. Couple of things. Burnham has said he's ready to launch an immediate challenge. There's been a lot of heat on Restore over the weekend. Restore, of course, the party that was set up by Rupert Lowe after he exited Reform, galvanised online. Apparently, according to Poppy, I don't know this, he doesn't write his own social media, somebody else does it, but Musk has been very supportive. But the right-wing press, led by the Mail, have been looking into a lot closer because we hear that Restore could, well, make a massive difference and let Burnham in through the back door. Proof over the weekend, it says here, Restore is the new home for neo-Nazis. As leader Rupert Lowe says, Tommy Robinson is welcome to join. If I was Farage, I'd be shining a light on Restore, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. I was in Makerfield this weekend, as it happened, talking to lots of people, including the Reform candidate, Robert Kenyon, and I know you have to mention all the candidates. He's a real stand-up guy, in my view. He really is devoted to improving the lot of his local area. I met some Restore canvassers and activists. I have to say, Jeremy, if I'm allowed to be honest, a lot of them were quite unpleasant people. They had unpleasant views. They were canvassing in what I would consider to be an unpleasant way. They were quite aggressive towards me. I don't know if they were also aggressive towards other people. They were not what I would consider to be nice people. And we know that there are lots of people with dodgy views in Restore. I don't understand why Rupert Lowe won't do something about it or say something about it. Lots of Restore supporters on the internet make racist comments. They make anti-Semitic comments. That's not on Rupert Lowe, of course, but he should say something about it, I think. Very dodgy party, and Nigel Farage should say something about it. Nigel Farage should be saying, listen, if you want to change this country, Reform is the best option. But one thing I'll tell you, Jeremy, from the day and a half I spent in Makerfield, which is not enough to get to know an area, of course, but the big issue is immigration. Yep. I cannot tell you how many people I spoke to about this, and they all raised it. Rob Kenyon, the Reform candidate, told me that he asks everyone on the doorstep, what's your local concern and what's your national concern? And he said the answer to both is the same.
Listen, we have rules by which to do this, and everybody is prepared to get a chance here. I'd be more than happy to speak to everybody. The problem for me is on a national scale. If Burnham wins because the right vote is divided in whichever way and by whichever party, I know enough about what I do, and I know enough about the British people who I have tremendous faith in, that if this government lurches to the left, raises taxes, wipes the arse of the feckless anymore, the British people, if it is Restore, and that's fine, you vote as you want, they will point the finger at Rupert Lowe and they will not forgive him for this happening. That's all I'm saying. So, look, Nigel Farage did something, just to finish, on his Substack. I don't know if you've seen this. He said at the weekend, a two-tier state against white people, claiming that toxic ideology of diversity has even basically taken over Whitehall. And all the opposition oh, this is absolutely awful, this is racist, this is totally wrong. Turns out this morning that white job seekers, proven data, by the way, are being shut out of taxpayer-funded employment schemes because the opportunities have been given solely to ethnic minorities. So if I was Nigel Farage, I'm telling him how to live his life, I'd be sticking to facts. I wouldn't be involved in any gutter politics, and I'd be talking about stuff that might get MPs going, oh, you're a horrible man, but millions of people in this country going, yeah, it's happening, it's fact.
Oh, they really are. And I met some of those people this weekend. That's what lots of people are thinking. They think there is an ideology of anti-whiteness, which there is. It's just undeniable. We've all seen it with our own eyes, especially over the past 6 years in the post-George Floyd moment. We all saw those articles about how the National Trust and all the rest of them were going to look into whether they were too white. We all saw the Church of England self-flagellating because it might have old statues to slavery, and it said that we have to have a reckoning with our whiteness as if being white was some kind of sin. We've all seen the left go on and on about white privilege as if working class people up and down this country have privilege. We've seen it. We've heard it. It's been non-stop, this white bashing from the establishment, treating ordinary white people, especially see working class white people as the scum of the earth. That's what's happened. And it's been institutionalized in the job market, in institutions, in education. Farage is completely right about this, and dismantling that and bringing back the old idea of equality where no one is mistreated on the basis of their race. That's what we need to do.
Couldn't agree more, mate. And can I just say, you know how much I love speaking to you. Go online, peeps. Spiked is absolutely brilliant. Brendan O'Neill, as ever, my friend, a big thank you. He's on every Monday, 7:21. Here's a list, by the way, and it's really important. People, as we head towards that by-election on Thursday, you know, you'll notice people will have their opinions. We play it very straight. But there are loads and loads of people standing. Many people you can vote for. Here's a list of your candidates in Makerfield. Jake Austin stands for the Liberal Democrats. Count Binface for his own party, Count Binface Party. Andy Burnham, of course, the Labour Party. Dan Clark, the Libertarian Party. John Dyer for the Independents. Ed Gemmell, the Climate Party. Paul Gould, the Independent. Alan Howling, Lord Hope, the official monster raving loony party. Robert Kenyon, Reform UK. Robert Pownall, Protect the Wild. Rebecca Shepherd, Restore Britain. Sarah Wakefield, the Green Party. Peter Ward, Rejoin the EU. And Michael Stanley, the Conservative Party. That's your list of candidates.
My two younger daughters live near Bournemouth. Bournemouth has been transformed from a sort of idyllic English seaside town to a place where there are attacks and rapes. They've had to have set up their own security force.
Bournemouth is a war zone now.
It's terrible. There's 3 migrant hotels. There's all sorts. There's rapes. It is just wicked. And I have to speak to my young daughters about strange men there. That isn't good at all. The public are right to feel angry.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
7:24. Welcome to Talk Breakfast, the home of common sense. This is JK till 10. You're waking up to the news at the government, and apparently Starmer's going to be on at 8 o'clock. We'll take that. No, he's going to ban social media. Lots of people responding, some for it, some against it. He has sort of flip-flopped again. Yes, no, whatever, depending on what the Parliamentary Labour Party is. He's going to say to under-16s, 10 of the biggest social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, and X, there will be curfews. Couple of points for you. You're saying to a 16-year-old you can vote, but you're saying you can't make a decision. Apparently, Christian, it says here they are banning YouTube, but you're saying they're not banning YouTube, which is interesting. So, I don't know. We'll check that out. But if it isn't YouTube, we're on YouTube, so just come here. Also, there's no money for defence this time. I'm sorry, we're not defence. Somebody told me, right, we've got more people that have come into this country illegally in the last 2 years than serve in all 3 forces added together. But there's no money for defence. But there is money to give the junior doctors 2 more pay rises. 2 more pay rises. Now, we've been playing footage of the Marines going on board a Russian naval tanker. I'm afraid cynics like me are going, the signage on the wall in the tanker says it's in English, and we've allowed hundreds to go by. Why now? Is it timing to make us look strong? I am not slagging off the Royal Marines. There is nobody who ever said that anonymously. I am the biggest supporter of our armed forces. I think it is a complete bloody disgrace that this government and successive Tory governments have taken away. So please believe that. I actually think they've been used as pawns in a game here by Starmer, which makes it even worse in my mind. Paul, good morning.
First time leaving a message, but with regards to this social media ban, they're implementing it for certain sites. They're still allowing children to access Blue Sky, which is obviously a left-leaning site. Yeah, like you say, make it make sense.
Sorry, so Blue Sky they're allowed to access. That's a left-leaning site, is it? Weird. I mean, honestly, I don't want to sound conspiratorial, but I have no option. 0344 499 1000. We'll talk Makerfield as well. It's your show, your views on the day's news. Jez, if Starmer stops under 16s from social media, does he honestly think 6-year-olds will then vote for Labour? Does he realise what he's doing? The man's a complete well, we'll say idiot. Dean Robertson, good morning. He's in Cambodia, which you'd imagine is probably better right now than the United Kingdom. Starmer is off his rocker. He's the son of a tool maker. He's the biggest tool the United Kingdom's ever had. He'll be trying to tax air soon, the bloody buffoon. Dean and Alan. In Cambodia. I'd love to know more. Memo to Talk Management. The combination of Jeremy and Poppy makes for brilliant television. What a fantastic hour of viewing, says Hugh Saw. Management. No, I'm distant. Don't talk about management. We haven't got any. I'm joking. Gary Phillis. Now, I knew somebody years ago called Gary Phillis. Morning, Jess. Richard Tice is correct about Restore. He should not be worried about them. There is a clear divide forming between Reform and Restore. Social media feeds show Restore to be selling very close to the wind with rhetoric. Meanwhile, every time I see Nigel questioned, his response is dignified. Gary, so glad we've put Brecon on the map because that idiot Jessica Brecon. Yes, I did it deliberately. You see, Gary, it's called No, it's called just sort of sense... No, I'm not. I'm losing my brain. Does the government think the British public are that bleeding stupid that the Royal Marines boarding a ship with a cameraman in front of them? Did Starmer come out with this one? Great show. Annie, Burgess Hill, Joanna's in Salisbury. Poppy is such a rare sunshine. No mention of me. The rain will stop. Poppy is on the shows on Monday and Thursday. The first hour, she's off now to move flat. She paid a removal company £100. I know. Good luck with stopping social media. No, well, you keep kids off it, says Joanna. Good, true, yeah. Chris, morning, Jez and Pops. Pops, please tell me that you've checked that your moving guy's got a successful DBC. Yeah, has he been checked? I've no idea. Tom's in Pontypridd. We're big in Wales this morning, is it? Didn't Hermer, oh, not him, a month ago or two say we couldn't raid Russia's shadow fleet as it's illegal? Yes, that's absolutely true, but suddenly you're absolutely right. Lord Hermer, the squirmer, that nearly got that wrong. He did, didn't he? Starmer's old buddy said we can't be going on board Russian tankers. It's against the law. Lo and behold, Starmer wants to stay in power. Everybody's having a go, and suddenly the Royal Marines are being used as pawns in the game. Sarah's in Cheshire. They missed banning Blue Sky. Of course, it's a left-wing socialist social media site. 7:30. Delighted to... This is a mouthful, isn't it? Can I not just say, all right, Senior Associate Fellow, I've never been anything like that, at the Henry Jackson Society. Imagine having a society named after you. And a former major in the parachute measurement. Andrew Fox, a very good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. Very well, thank you. And apologies for the long title. I'll ask work to shorten it.
It's better than just idiot, which I have. I just want to talk about this Marine footage because, you know me, there is nothing about the armed forces I think that I love and adore. I think that the job they do, the conditions that they deal with, the stuff they're given is a bloody disgrace, and I've said it for a long time. Last week, Starmer, and in fact over the weekend, came out, Andrew, and said there's no more money for defence. The cynics amongst us will go, but you've just given the junior doctors another bloody pay rise and you refuse to do anything about welfare. But I cannot help but think this footage we're watching now came out 24 hours ago and showed the UK, I think they're Marines, boarding a Russian shadow fleet in the English Channel. When you saw that, I won't add anything at this moment, what were your initial thoughts?
Well, look, the timing is clearly politically extremely convenient, and I don't think we can dodge that fact. But look, there's nothing easy or particularly demonstrative about boarding a a tanker at night from a Chinook helicopter. So, you know, the Royal Marines have done a good job here. They can only do the job they're given. Yes, of course, the camera crews are there, which, you know, ties into my first point about the timing. But it's a good demonstration of capability. The reason the signs are in English, by the way, is that was formerly a Greek tanker, and Greece uses English as the international language for safety reasons. So that's why it would be in English. But yeah, it's clearly a PR piece for the government at the time of a defence crisis, but it's also a good job by the Royal Marines. So I think we can look at it from both sides.
PR's, I mean, Andrew, I'm delighted you said that, simply because somebody just pointed out to me, Lord Herman, the Attorney General, 2 months ago, said it's not right to take on board ships. It's against their legal rights, their human rights, whatever you call it. And lo and behold, because his mate's up a gum tree, can you say up a gum tree? I have no idea. Suddenly, but I don't like the armed forces being used in that way, and I think that's wrong. What are your views on this fallout last week? John Healey, Al Khan's going, they both saying, you, Starmer and Rachel Reeves, have put the security of this country behind paying more in welfare benefits.
Yeah, and it's absolutely true, and there's no way of dodging it. And I have huge respect for John Healey for actually falling on his sword in that way, and you know that's just good leadership, quite frankly. My biggest concern, I think, is twofold. First of all, it's where we are wasting a huge amount of money elsewhere in the British budget on things like welfare, and of course Starmer and Reeves promised to enact welfare reform that they then U-turned on after backbench pressure. So you know that's very much on them, but also the Ministry of Defence has been terrible in how it spends our money. There's an awful lot of waste in the system. If we look at things like the Ajax vehicle programme, and you know certainly from my time in service, you know I recall several new shiny initiatives that then fell by the wayside. So there's a twofold thing here. First of all, we need the cash, but secondly, the Ministry of Defence needs to actually spend it properly.
Couldn't agree more. And I think it's important to try and be balanced. I understand that Starmer gets everything, and quite rightly so, but my anger, and I've said it for years, I cannot believe that successive governments fell for the we're in the middle of a Cold War, everything is fine. To me, that is a dereliction of your prime duty, which is to protect the nation and your people, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's the old saying, if you want peace, then prepare for war. And it's a Treasury issue in many ways, because it's very hard to sell to the Treasury that you should have a large, well-armed armed forces sitting around effectively doing nothing apart from exercises in Kenya or Cyprus. You know, that's a hard sell to a Treasury that is trying to find a way to fund the NHS, to fund education, to fund welfare. But
to me that smacks really badly of the Treasury, because if you haven't got the balls to stand up to your parliamentary colleagues and say, look, there are people shirking it on benefits, whether we like this or not, we have to have the conversation. It was set up to help people. We all want to help people who can't help themselves, but this is ludicrous. And there has to be a priority, which is defending your people, not wiping the backside of the lazy and the feckless. And they just wouldn't have that. I'm with you about John Healey. I thought he was probably increasingly the most intelligent, if not balanced, and switched on that front bench. I don't know what Dan Jarvis is like. Dan Jarvis arrived in the job on Friday morning and said, I will find that money. No, you won't, because the review said there isn't any, you idiot. So why are you saying that? You're trying to get the chiefs of staff on side. I think it's been a cancer, the cuts to the military for too long. And I suppose you could argue that the good thing after Ukraine and what's happening in the Middle East and how volatile the world is, at least that hopefully now will focus people's brains. I don't know if we hadn't said this already this morning, but he stood up to Ed Miliband also over the weekend and said, I'm going to cut certain EV targets, which I thought was very interesting. Well, why don't you use that money on defence as well then? How much is that? Billions every year on net zero and that madness, isn't it?
Well, look, you've got every cabinet minister competing for their own priorities. Ed Miliband has clearly pushed net zero as far as it's going to go, but that still comes at huge cost. And look, every defence secretary we've had from the Tories onwards has complained about the constant battles with the Treasury, so this is nothing new. You do wonder where on earth the leadership is here. Like, who runs the government? Is it the Treasury or is it the Prime Minister? There really needs to be a bit of...
And you've got to say something about his authority if he can't even bloody well talk Rachel Reeves around, right?
Yeah, exactly. And look, there's a really key point here about defence, and that is that it is intimately linked to our economic prosperity. You cannot be economically prosperous if you can't defend yourself, be that your borders, be that your international trade routes, be that your overseas interests. You know, all of this stuff is intrinsically linked. On top of that, defence is good for the economy because you have to build things, and factories that build things make money and employ people and pay their pensions, etc., etc. So actually, defence, it comes with a lot of hidden benefits that I think are wildly overlooked by our political class. And we're just missing opportunity after opportunity at a time when the world is looking more unstable than at any time in the previous 30 or 40 years. So it's just really poor, short-term, not joined-up thinking by the government.
Andrew, thank you so much indeed. Always great to have you on the show. Andrew Fox, Senior Associate. I'm going to do it again. Henry Jackson Society, and a former major in the parachute regiment. Good job. Now, for those of you who are waking up or just tuning in, big news. By 8 o'clock, apparently Keir Starmer's going to go on television and he's going to announce a ban on under 16 using 10 of the biggest social media sites in the world, X, Instagram, TikTok. I want to make sure the next generation is not affiliated and addicted to social media. Turns out they haven't actually banned Blue Sky, which is a left-wing social media site. And also, I thought you might like to know this, they are allowing them to vote still. So we're going to police you in terms of social media, but we're going to allow you to vote. Also, if there was any part of you on this Monday that thought the defence secretary's resigned, the armed forces minister's resigned, nobody likes him, he can't even buy a vote, is he going to resign? This was him on Friday with the BBC.
I'm not going to walk away. I don't think we should plunge the country into the chaos of a leadership election.
But if that happens and you stand, wouldn't you be a contributor to that chaos?
Well, I don't think it should happen.
But if it does happen,
I will fight. And let me just be clear with you, that's not about personal vanity. It's not about stubbornness. It's out of a very deep sense of duty. I was elected to serve this country, notwithstanding the difficult circumstances. That is what I am doing.
The chaos of a leadership campaign. Keir, you pillock. The chaos of your leadership. Fact. Back in 3.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, welcome back. 20 minutes to 8 o'clock. This is JK on Talk Breakfast. Let's say good morning to Judy. Morning, Jude.
Hello, it's Judy from Altoffs, West Yorkshire. Keir Starmer's got the army to stop a Russian tanker carrying oil because it's under embargo. They're not allowed to move their oil and that. I thought we were going to start buying oil from Russia. Aren't the government breaking the embargo? Shouldn't the army be deployed there, running down ropes from the roof and etc., etc.? I just find it very, very strange. Very strange. Thank you.
very strange, very incompetent. It is true. People are watching the footage going, that's just political convenience. You've used the Royal Marines. Jenny says, it seems to me that the cameraman already cleared the stairwell before the Marines stormed down it. Yeah, it's true. So if it was a dangerous situation, how is the cameraman there before they get down? I'm sorry, to me, when you've admitted there's no money for defence, when you've said that it is not my priority and I don't care about defending the nation, I'd rather give a pay rise to the doctors or pay more feckless people to do nothing. That's a bit convenient and that's disrespectful. Also, the other big news story this morning is social media, the government wanting to ban. Apparently, Starmer's put back the speech at 8. It's going to be 10 past. Apparently, he's on the loo. I don't know. I don't know how true this is. No idea. Maybe he's running on one. This is interesting. Josh in Pewsey. Do you know where Pewsey is, Christian? He's sort of in Gloucester. It is Dr. Gloucester. Yeah. He says, "Morning, Jess. Quick quiz for you and your guests. I haven't got any guests. What do these things have in common? Really? Fight in the army, learn to drive, buy cigarettes, buy and drink alcohol, buy lottery tickets, learn to fly a bloody plane, leave school, pay taxes, stand for Parliament and claim benefits. You could do all of that at 16, so why the bloody hell can't you look at social media at 15 years and 364 days, for example," says he. It's true. I'm not against saying that social media is wrong and in many instances, and tech companies should be brought to task. I've no doubt that's right. But you're telling me that these people can vote. And then you're saying you can't watch social media. It's complete bonkers. And let's keep saying it. Blue Sky, the left-wing socialist online thing. I thought Blue Sky was the blue tick. That's how crap I am. Apparently that's still allowed. Let's say a very good morning to, well, he's sort of become the star of stage and screen. I mean, he was just a lowly copper with a chip on his shoulder, but now he's an international star. Peter Blexley, a very good morning.
Good morning to you.
I saw an extraordinary thing about you on YouTube the other day, a very candid interview about the hell you went through. It was brilliant, by the way. Absolutely brilliant, my friend. What an amazing piece of television that was. There you are, genuinely nice.
Thank you very much.
Pete, we've sort of sat here and we've talked about crime and we've talked about society breaking down. We have to be careful because Makerfield obviously is 4 days away, although it's in the news today. But I wanted to talk to you specifically about Farage, who launched his Substack yesterday, which apparently is something to do with social media, probably banned by it. Anyway, he said that there is now irrefutable proof of a two-tier state actively that is anti-white people. He claims that the toxic ideology of diversity has taken over so much of the fabric of the United Kingdom. QP, horrified Labour, Liberal Democrats, Greens and any other politician going, "You racist, horrible human being, how can you possibly say this?" And yet we wake up this morning, my friend, this is data proven, to discover that white job seekers are being shut out of taxpayer-funded employment schemes with training opportunities going solely to ethnic minorities. We're screwed, aren't we, PB?
Mr. Farage is absolutely right. It started back in 1997 with the political correctness movement, instigated by Tony Blair, some of which actually did get rid of some awful language from the British language. But, of course, what it then did was it morphed and it's morphed. And if you look back to senior police 20 years ago, you'll see them all rushing to stand with a minority group, holding their flag, expressing their virtue and the such like. But it's got more and more pernicious, more and more vindictive, yes, vindictive, more and more exclusionary. And absolutely, we are, as a white, born and bred Londoner, white people, we're discriminated against now.
Do you... I don't know how old you are, I wouldn't disrespect you, probably younger than me. Do you worry when you say that people will say, "You're a racist, you are, you can't possibly say that"? For years, black people, brown people, people of other ethnicities were treated so appallingly. This is just balancing, because in my mind, it's gone so far the other way. It's reverse racism, and I'm not scared to say that. I have no fear in saying that at all.
Well, firstly, I really don't care what people say about me. It's only words. And besides, as a former detective, I can back it up with evidence, hard evidence, that people are discriminated against. We, as white people, are discriminated against. Of course, I was very vocal some years ago about the racism that went on in the Metropolitan Police that I knew of I knew officers who were beating up and fitting up young black men. And I came forward and spoke about that at some considerable cost in terms of the unpleasantness and how I got ostracised over it. I don't care. I felt I was doing the right thing. I've always regarded the truth as a friend and not an enemy. So, yes, but the police have overcorrected so much. Society, the public services have overcorrected so much so that the pendulum has got skewed. It's swung far too far the other way. And now we have open racism being practiced under the guise of, oh, aren't we virtuous? And, of course, that is inherently wrong.
In terms of how we got to where we're at, you know, for Farage to say, you know, it's a I mean, last week he said there was two-tier policing and he was absolutely howled out of Westminster. If I've said this to you already, I apologise, but some people are listening who weren't. He was literally lambasted by every politician. Then he came on this show and he told me that as he left the chamber, one of the oldest MPs tapped him on the shoulder and went, Farage, dear boy, it looks to me like you've lost the House, paused and went, but probably won the country. Because the thing that people will not accept, that the left is, I hate even calling them that, they're entitled to their opinion, but the fact they steadfastly look you full square in the face and think you're everything under the sun. And I always want to go, there are millions and millions of people who feel like this. This isn't just words. Go out there and meet people. They feel trodden all over. They don't think it's fair anymore. And that is not wrong to say that, is it?
And fairness, of course, must be key to a society that wants to get along with our fellow countrymen, be they black-faced or brown-faced, of whatever faith or persuasion they are. If the nation is to get on, there has to be an overwhelming, not only sense of fairness, but fairness has to happen in practice. That's where we should be. That should be the default position. If you're bone idle and you sit on your backside and you don't do anything all day long, then why on earth should you be rewarded out of the taxes that you, me and your audience work so hard to pay?
I don't understand the logic there, Pete, because in the end, the silent majority will go, no, we're not having that. That is not happening anymore. It is completely and utterly unfair. You always tell the story about your man that runs the curry shop, you good mate. I tell the story about the guy from Bangladesh who picks me up at night. Every single night says to me the same thing. This appalls me more than anything. He came here 40 years ago. He loves this country, learnt the language. We were talking about this last week with the horrors of Belfast. He doesn't understand the priorities of this government. In fact, he said to me the other day, I don't understand the priorities of this society anymore. Everybody sees Great Britain now, he said, as a place where you can come and take advantage to the detriment of the indigenous population.
And look at the state of the country as a result of that. Look at how, as we know through the admissions of Pat McFadden just the other week, the government is always trying to find money somewhere so it can pay it out in benefits. And look what happened. Look at our crumbling high streets. Look at the empty business premises. Look at the general decline of this nation, where high streets are empty, streets are lawless, people are afraid to go out at night in places like the once aspirational Bournemouth. People continue to flood in.
Went there the other day. I've told you. I don't know if I've said this online and if it on air and if this upsets people. Henry did his theory test there the other day. Pete, unrecognisable, mate. Unrecognisable. Literally male migrants walking up and down the whole. I literally, even I was like, "Are you joking?" Unbelievable. Fact.
And feel for the residents of Bournemouth, those women and girls who will not leave their front doors because they are petrified. And what's happened? It's perpetuated. It's still going on. And this nation is in rapid decline. And I'm sure there are tens of millions of us that don't want that to continue. We want it to stop. We want high streets to thrive again. We want a sense of fairness. We want illegals stopped from coming into this country. We want people who come to this country to take the mickey, break the law, otherwise not contribute, to be deported in their tens of thousands, so that we can have a nation we are proud of, we cherish, and we contribute towards.
Love having you on, mate. Couldn't agree with you anymore. Where's the next night? Where are you going on this stand-up tour? Where is it?
The stand-up tour is the best true crime stage show ever performed.
Are you standing up, though, while you're doing it?
Heading to Scotland tomorrow, Kirkcaldy, Aberdeen, Arbroath, Edinburgh and Glasgow. It'd be great to see people there.
Repeat after me. Och, the new. Brilliant, that's a no. 0344 499. Thank you, Peter Blexley. Morning, Dale.
Hi, Jezza. Dale from Sunderland. And he's walked out with Blue the Pooch. This social media thing is ridiculous. You're never going to stop kids from getting around that. I'm the wrong end of 50. When we were kids, you weren't supposed to have sex. You weren't supposed to smoke. You weren't supposed to take alcohol. And guess what? We all did it. Maybe let's try stopping these kids under 15 on these scooters, terrorising neighbourhoods. That's where the money's well spent. Great show, Jez. Bye now.
Speak for yourself. Sex and booze and smoking at 16. I'm not getting involved. Let's say a very good morning to Robert Bakes, Research Director at the Centre for Migration Control. Only got about 5 minutes. Rob, good morning, my friend. Here's a great moment for you. I love having this man on the show. Raid on Russian shadow vessel, just the beginning, screams the headline in most newspapers today. This is the Royal Marines aboarding a Russian oil tanker that was heading past us the other day, although 2 months ago Lord Hermer, the Attorney-General, said it was against human rights to do that. But anyway, Starmer needs to show that he's good defence. I just had a question for you, Rob. How in the bloody hell are we able to stop a Russian tanker full of weapons and soldiers, but we can't stop a rubber dinghy with migrants on it?
It's a very fair question, Jeremy. Of course, actually, it's surprising that the armed forces even have the capability to be doing this on Russian tankers. But I think there's the straitjacket of human rights law. Obviously, is a bigger reason that applies to the small boats, and just a lack of political will when it comes to small boats. But I mean, for the Prime Minister, this is brilliant optics. Whereas I think if he was going to be going to an Islington dinner party or so forth, he'd feel a lot more comfortable having to explain to his mates why he's decided to stop migrants. So I think it's again, an indicative of the political will of this Prime Minister. And if there's an opportunity for him to look like he's sort of defending the realm, then he's going to seize it. Whereas when it comes to the small boats, he's, of course, a lot less willing to actually do what's in the national interest. And it concords with his international outlook and his willingness to continue to suck up to Zelensky. But will he have that same preparedness to do what is needed when it comes to the small boats and make himself maybe a bit of an outlier and a bit of a awkward situation with the French? I think not.
Of course not. And I, you know, for me, and I know you'd agree with this, the first premise of any Prime Minister and any government is to protect its people, be that on the streets in the United Kingdom or your borders. There is definitive proof. We saw the horrors of Belfast last week, and I will have another argument with that bloody woman who said to me, white men attack people and rape women. That's just, how does that work? We're importing people from foreign countries, unvetted, who have a different set of morals, who don't have any values, who do not share anything that we have, and we're allowing them in here. It's like the defence thing. Your duty, Starmer, is to protect the United Kingdom and its people. That means stopping migration. It doesn't mean opening the borders. I find it's such a blind spot that you can only ever believe when we speak that these people, and you said it, Islington dinner parties, oh, let's care for everybody. But you're not caring for your own people, are you?
No, and every rape and every murder that happens from an illegal migrant is, of course, directly downstream of failures of politicians. I mean, I don't know what more Starmer needs to hear. We've had the head of counter-terrorism coming out and saying that it's a potential threat to national security, the migrant crisis. We've had his own chief immigration advisor saying that asylum seekers commit crime, and in particular sexual crime, at a rate that is far greater than Brits. You know, we've even had the BBC now admitting that asylum seekers commit crime at a better rate.
Sorry, can we take 5? The BBC have done what?
It was astounding. Newsnight a couple of days ago, we had Victoria Derbyshire fessing up, saying asylum seekers, the evidence suggests, are more likely to commit crime, and in particular sex crimes. This should be what is being spoken about. We now have sort of unanimity across not just the sort of the centre-right, but across the centre-right and centre-left, and even the government's own advisors, all saying this is a huge crisis
Starmer doesn't seem to be heeding that. Of course, individuals are still being given this complete free rein that they do have, and I think the Common Travel Area has indicated just that they have an even greater free rein than I think a lot of people realise. He's going to continue putting them into HMOs at an even greater rate. He's not going anywhere near what he needs to be doing, which is detention and deportation of all of them. We're again, of course, also hearing in the Sunday Express yesterday that, up to 100,000 have just completely disappeared. Home Office have thrown hands up. Yes, there's no idea where they are. Nothing we can do about it.
I just, like you, and we talk a lot, and I've listened to all these people say, we've done the war-torn thing, rubbish. We've talked about, people escaping this. We are soft. We give too much to these people, to the detriment of the British people. And morally, I think it's a disgrace. I think it's the security issue is the one thing, but just the whole. Do you know what I think, just to finish this morning? What the hell must the world think of the United Kingdom? Maybe I'm old-fashioned, but Great Britain used to mean great. Doesn't mean that now. Not in my mind.
And it's ironic, isn't it? Because the very things that make us unable to tackle this sort of wanting to uphold our international reputation, into human rights law and so forth, are all being absolutely ground into the dirt by our inability to actually tackle what is a relatively straightforward, problem. We have a lovely bit of sea around our island. You'd think it is very, very straightforward to stop these men coming in, but no, instead they're being escorted in, so forth, all the treats, all the works. We are an international laughingstock at this point, and it is the direct result of both the Tory and the Labour governments unprepared to do anything that's in the national interest and go stray too far, make themselves, in their mind's eye, an international pariah from what they think the international consensus is. And
I'm not bothered about being an international pariah. I think the leaders of this country should do what's right for the British people. Robert, listen, I know it's always quick, mate, but we love having you on. Research Director at the Centre for Migration Control, Robert Bates, thank you very much indeed. Almost 8 o'clock. Isabel Oakeshott will kick off the next hour. We're talking social media bans. We're talking about stopping a Russian tanker, but no small dinghies. And we're talking Makerfield. All that on the home of common sense. This, my friends, is Talk, and the 8 o'clock news is next.
I think the trigger for this is people using it.
You think they just did it for no reason whatsoever? You think they rioted last night for no reason?
They took to the streets last night because they were thugs who wanted to engage in violence.
What about the peaceful protesters? There were peaceful protesters all over Northern Ireland as well.
They have a right, as they always should, to protest, but there is always going to be a difference of opinion when it does come to whether it's a legal migrant or an illegal migrant, whether it's a person who has come here to seek refuge or whether it's someone who's come here to work.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
The video footage was so deeply shocking, the behaviour of the police disgraceful and stupid, and it shows something deeply rotten in our society.
Enough of anti-white prejudice. A promotion of the idea that white lives matter just as much as black lives.
Nigel Farage said today it should be white lives matter. Are you making the same point?
It should be everyone matters.
And when you hear Henry's faltering voice, losing its tone, losing its volume, as his life ebbs away, you're not going to say, I don't think so, mate. And when somebody tells you they've been stabbed, your first job as a police officer is the preservation of life.
Henry was pulled across the gravel, his hands forced behind his back, and he was placed in handcuffs. Instead of being treated as a dying victim, police formally arrested Henry for assault and read him his rights. That was the last thing he heard.
I do want to address the Henry Novak case and what has happened since I was on air yesterday. Because after his son's murderer was sentenced on Monday, Mark Novak said of his son, "We do not want his death to be used to create further division, hatred or tension. We want his story to help make our streets safer for everyone." Since then, Nigel Farage, the Tories and pretty much everyone else, people like me, we're all being accused of stoking that very division, hatred and tension that Mark Novak talked about.
If the public lose trust in being treated fairly by the police, can he take some action, end this divisive practice of two-tier policing and make sure that all British citizens are treated the same?
Mr. Speaker, I don't believe there's two-tier policing in this country. His response has been to appeal for rage. Rage. That's his response to a father who's lost his son and asked for that not to happen. Exploiting this tragedy to create grievance and division would be wrong in any circumstances, but to do it when the family are expressly saying, please don't, is unforgivable.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back and welcome along. It is Monday the 15th of June. You would talk, of course, the home of common sense and the home of the alarm clock Brit. Yes, you, my friends, you tax-paying, turning up on work, living within the confines of the law person, you stupid person. 0344 419 1000, text to 87222. You're waking up to the news that this hour, Captain Flip-Flop himself, Keir Starmer, will address the nation, will he? Or just a few press somewhere in Downing Street, about how he intends today, having said he would and he wouldn't and he would and he wouldn't, now he is, he's going to ban social media under 16s from using 10 of the biggest social media systems or even platforms, TikTok, Instagram and X to name but a few. If you're under 16, you're not going to be able to do that. You might be able to go for a driving lesson, buy a pint, stand for Parliament, claim benefits, but you're not going to be able to make your own decision. It is an addictive thing. It is undoubtedly, and I will be honest, it does undoubtedly causes problems, but I just have one question, wherever you are. Keir, you're telling them they can't use social media, but you're telling them that it's OK that they vote for the next government. And the only media or social media platform you're not turning off is Blue Sky, which is a left-wing social media. So are you trying to buy these kids' votes? Or are you missing the point? Because if they don't watch that, how are they going to learn about what's going on in the world? What do you think? 0344 499 1000. Pete, good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy. This government enforced social media ban on kids. Well, it just stinks to me of 1984, Big Brother, because it will start with kids, won't it? And then it will lead on to adults. Oh, commit a misdemeanor, like have a bit of free speech to tell people your side of something. Oh, you're immediately not only jailed, you're banned from the internet for 5 years. So you can't speak out against the government. We can all see where this is going to lead, can't we?
So that's the first part of today, and the other is, you might have seen this last week, the Defence Secretary, John Healey, and the Armed Forces Minister, Al Khan, just basically leaving and saying, you don't care about the armed forces. Starmer in the newspaper today admitting there is no more money for defence. OK, fine. Two things. But you did give the junior doctors 2 more pay rises over the weekend, yeah? You've done that. So it's priorities, isn't it? So what does he do? And maybe I'm being unfair. In every single newspaper today is the story of how Brilliant Marine commandos over the weekend stormed a Russian shadow vessel going past the United Kingdom. Footage shows the Marines taking over the ship. Now, just a couple of things. If you watch the footage, 3 things actually. 2 things struck me. One is the cameraman's in front of them at the bottom of the stairwell before the Marines come down, which slightly concerns me. What if there were people there that might be aggressive with weapons? But I mean, I could be missing the point. There is a sign exit written in English, which is sort of questionable. But here's a couple of questions for you. If we do that at the exact moment that he says there's no money for defence, is anybody else cynically thinking this is a PR exercise? And while we're at it, perhaps the biggest question of all, if we can stop a bloody boat that big, why can't we stop rubber dinghies with migrants in? Isabel Oakeshott, welcome back, good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Jezza?
Well, I missed you. It was like 10 days. I was bereft, woman. I spoke to Mr. Oakeshott this morning. You're still using the Tice moniker, but that'll be gone soon. But I wanted the main dish. I don't want the starter. I missed you.
Oh, well, I think I'll be nice to you than Pops was, claiming that you'd gone grey and just generally giving you a bit of a beating. It wasn't a way to start a Monday morning, was it?
I think men tend to get older more gracefully, though. I feel better now than I did 20... No, I'm not going to talk about it, because you're too young. Isabel, where do you want to start? Social media or the carnage? Let's start with social media. Don't know where you are on this as a mother, and I'm not against the belief that it's not good for kids, but I think it should start at home. But I think this could be the start of something quite dangerous, in my humble opinion. I think it's duplicitous. You're letting them vote.
So I'm really conflicted about it because I've got 3 teenagers and the younger ones, 13, nearly 14 and 15, I mean, without a doubt, in my view, spend far too much time on social media, without a doubt. And there's aspects to this that, you know, our generation, we don't even realise is going on. So, for example, one of them had got upset a couple of weeks ago because she could tell from location services on Snapchat or some such that there were friends meeting without her in another location. Now, that is next level, isn't it? You know, realising that you've been left out of something because there are devices, there's facilities on your phone that show where all your friends are. I think that's cruel and it's horrible and it just makes being a teenager even harder. But
I guess that's life, though, and that's all happened to us. But I agree with you. But to me, you talk about your teenagers, and I've got kids, and let's all be really honest, because Ollie's listening to this in the car. Every single parent allows the kids probably a bit more time than they should, especially if they want half an hour of peace and quiet or whatever. But it does come down to parental control. My Vic's amazing because she'll do stuff with the kids the whole time. They can do that, but it's not all the time. And you can see, genuinely, a difference in my young kids when they're not on it, full stop.
Oh, definitely. I do think it gets a lot harder. I don't know how old your younger ones are.
2 and 6.
I mean, it's so much harder when they're older teenagers because, you know, they want to keep up with their friends and so on. And a lot of it is really positive. But I think there's just a pragmatic side to this. I just asked them both, what do you think of this proposal? And they both said it will never work.
Yeah.
Don't be ridiculous. What a ridiculous proposal. One of them said it's like saying, you know, everyone's had dishwashers all these years and now you're not getting a dishwasher anymore.
It's quite interesting because Richard Tice, who you know quite well, said most kids know what a VPN is. I don't know. I mean, I know what a VPL is, but that was a long time ago. Do you know what that was?
I'm much more familiar with VPNs at the moment and try to avoid the VPL.
Thank you. But it's true. But my point is the hypocrisy of Starmer is going to talk this out. We know he's changed his mind 3 times. We know this is to play catch-up with the Parliamentary Labour Party. But we're basically saying we're going to police you doing that, but you can vote, for Christ's sake. I think that's the biggest and most disgraceful thing. I don't think 16-year-olds should be allowed to vote. I don't care what anybody tells me. I don't. It's my opinion.
I mean, I sort of don't quite... I see what you're saying, but he's, you know, it's 16 and over are allowed to vote and 16-year-olds are allowed social media. It's under 16s who would have the ban, right? But I do think that 16 is too young to be able to make any judgment. I mean, you know, I barely knew where my head was at 16. You know, you're not. I just don't think you're in a. What that's going to lead to is more, quote, family voting, where people just vote how their parents have framed.
Oh, Isabel, let's pay homage. Don't go anywhere, Miss Oakeshott. Our Prime Minister. Let's get inspired for 30 seconds.
Mediators from Pakistan and Qatar and all those involved. This is a hugely significant moment. We have long called for de-escalation, and it is vital that all parties seize this opportunity to secure stability in the region and restore freedom of navigation.
What's he talking about? Is he talking about social media or something else?
The peace deal.
Oh.
People here in the United Kingdom and around the world. We will now work closely with our partners to support this agreement and to ensure it turns.
No, boys, get rid of it. And the flags are wonky. The flag should be the silence behind your edge, you mate. No optics at all. We might go back there in a minute. And the mic's in the back of the room. It sounds like it's in a biscuit tin. I'm with you. I feel conflicted. I can see, but I'm old-fashioned, Isabel, right? So I think it's parental massively. You're a great mum. My Vic's a great mum. You have to be involved. The other thing that interests me, you talked about 16-year-olds. It's right, but 16 and 17-year-olds are going to be banned from late-night scrolling. Lots of sites are going to be controlled, but not Blue Sky, which is a left-wing socialist media site. How about that?
Oh, I just think, you know, dream on. It's not going to work. They'll find ways around it. But, you know, I suppose on the flip side, anything that can make it a bit easier for parents. It's really hard, this stuff. Yeah. I don't think I always get it right at all. I think I should be stricter, but I find it hard to be strict on this particular thing.
So with you, Is. So with you.
They put up so many good arguments, don't they? And a lot of the time, frankly, you know, our generation is actually bewildered by what they're actually doing.
He said something the other day, Oliver, who says, I'm a YouTuber, by the way, not a vlogger, get it right, 6. He said something about, that's pretty I don't know the exact word, maybe he said, that's a bit unconventional. I went, sorry? Where'd you learn that word from? He went, YouTube. I mean, they look at you like you've landed from Mars.
Yeah, I mean, they are also learning amazing skills that we didn't have. So there's flip sides to this, but as a government priority, forget it right now. You know, if we could move to other subjects, look at all the catastrophic issues our country is facing.
I agree. And one of which
political effort into this just doesn't feel where it should be at.
One of which you weren't here last week, and I'd gone off air when John Healey, the Defence Secretary, and Al Khan's, the Armed Forces Minister, resigned, and suddenly we had there's no more money for defence. He says it this morning on the front page of the Daily Telegraph. There's no more money for defence, and this drives me apoplectic with rage, because he's given 2 pay rises over the last 24 hours to the BMA, to the junior doctors. They had 28%. Don't get me in an argument with that. And then he thinks it's a really good idea to send the Marine Corps to raid a Russian vessel going past the United Kingdom, apparently. The footage doesn't make any sense, but you end up going, hold on again, this is all window dressing. Lord Hermer, 2 months ago, the Attorney General said we're not going to invade any ships because it's against their human rights. And yet, on the back of admitting there's no money to defence, what's he doing? Showing the world that we're strong. But he can't stop a rubber bloody dinghy.
It's so embarrassing, this, isn't it? It's so obvious. It's so glaringly obviously a PR stunt. Look, we should be better than this. No one is fooled by it. Yeah, the pictures are dramatic, but we all know that something like 699 others have gone unintercepted.
Yes.
And meanwhile, thousands of unidentified, undocumented men of fighting age, and the clue is in the fighting bit, because they come here, some of them, not all of them, and they do end up bringing conflict and division and violence to our societies. And if I could just make one other point about this social media ban to protect children and teenagers, I would far rather this government put massive resources into protecting our young people from being stabbed and mugged on our streets. That is a very real and present danger. The threat to young girls in particular of being sexually assaulted. How about he protect their life and limb before worrying about the social media side of it?
To me, it's always with him. It's He does stuff because it's either to placate the Labour Party, because a focus group says it will make you look good, and glaringly every time it's a huge, huge mistake. You're so right. You weren't here last week. We had that terrible incident in Belfast, and I went probably more apoplectic than I've ever gone, and it all went viral and ended up all over the place because, you know, we're getting to a point where honesty, if we're not honest, even if you get derided in the Commons like Farage did, forget those stupid MPs. Millions of people in this country are sick of unvetted, fighting-age men coming to this country, and let's nail it like we did last week, who do not share our values or our language or our belief system, who don't do anything. They come here, they disappear, and they are committing crimes. I told you, you know who it is. I'm not going to say it on air. Woman looked me full square in the face, Isabel, and went, white men rape women as well and stab people. It's not a bloody answer, is it? The answer is, if you're allowing that to happen in your country, you are opening yourself up to not defend those people, be it on your borders or certainly with your military. It's a joke. Your number one job as government is to defend your people and keep them safe, surely.
To that ridiculous argument that I hear all the time from the left about, oh, well, white British people do bad things too. Let me make a really simple point that even they should be able to understand. Every society all over the world, even in the safest, strictest country, every society has monsters. Every society has people that behave appallingly. Not every society actively chooses to import extra such people. People from places in the world where there's been terrible things and they've had terrible experiences and they have become desensitized to extreme violence. Not every country chooses to import those people and force their citizens to pay billions of pounds for it. That is simply insanity. If there is a handful of monsters on those boats, then it undermines the entire basis for allowing any of them in. We can't be inflicting this on our own nation, and yet our leaders continue to do so.
Couldn't agree more. I just wanted to talk. We have to be careful. You know the score. You've done it longer than me. Makerfield by-election Thursday. A couple of things from that. We'll play a list of candidates in a sec. Farage says that Britain, he did this in his new Substack yesterday, is a two-tier state against white people, and claims a toxic ideology of diversity has taken over Whitehall. And, of course, Q, all of them. Ed Davey in a jumpsuit, all of them. Oh, you horrible, nasty, populist, nationalistic, racist, horrible human being. Lo and behold, we wake up this morning, Isabel, to proof, data-driven proof, that white job seekers are being shut out of taxpayer-funded employment schemes, with all the opportunities, bar just a few, going to ethnic minorities. And all those people who deride Farage miss the point, because millions of people know there is now reverse racism in this country. And until we face it out and are honest about it, and I'll get slagged, don't give a toss, it's a fact, isn't it? An absolute fact.
It is an absolute fact, yeah.
Is that, sorry, have you stopped speaking? Did she just say it's an absolute fact? He spoke to my ear. I thought you were going to punt. I thought you were going to give me a big line there. I do apologise.
No, I'm just being really simple about it. It is a fact, and I found it astonishing that Keir Starmer could stand up and say there's no such thing as two-tier policing in this country. Don't insult the intelligence of the vast majority of the population who just see it for what it is. There's two-tier pretty much everything in this country. The only little ray of hope is that it may not be that Keir Starmer is our Prime Minister for very much longer at all. I think events are going to move very quickly this week. At the end of this week, post whatever happens in Makerfield, things are going to move very fast. And before long, we may have a very different landscape.
Should we don't go anywhere? Well, let's dip back into Captain Flip-Flop. Let's be excited. This is a speech about social media.
Laws are rules, but they're also an expression of our values. They shape the social contract. And so this will change the conversations that parents have and the expectations of children over time. It will make a huge difference.
Sorry, if you're tuning in, if you're tuning in, this isn't Isabel. We're both going,
Yeah, this is not signs of pleasure. just in case anyone's missing.
There's no pleasure listening to that numpty. Final question, and I have to ask you this. We've been very honest about where we stand politically, but you do the job and Purda and all that, and I have all sides on this show. There are people who will say, with Makerfield coming up, list of candidates on the way, that Restore Britain, led by Rupert Lowe, is gaining real traction online because of Musk and whatever. So much of what they say many people find completely unacceptable. Others seem to be drawn to it. I've got a theory. If Restore, who have come under a lot of fire in the newspapers over the weekend, they've pounded the Mail and other papers, neo-Nazis attending things, and some of the stuff online is appalling. But I've got a theory. If Burnham is allowed through the back door by the right splintering, however that works, and if it is Restore, let's say, there will be turmoil because this government will lurch to the left, there will be more taxation, and that person, if it is Rupert Lowe or Nigel, I'm just saying, will be blamed by the British people. And I think people are more switched on, certainly nationally, than sometimes politicians and pundits give them credit for, darling.
Well, I'm really glad you've given me an opportunity to talk about Restore, because I'm going to make a bit of a confession here. I am not nearly as blunt about Restore on social media as I really want to be, because of the absolute misery that they inflict on anyone, particularly women who are known to be Reform supporters, on anyone who calls them out or questions them online. They are very, very aggressive on social media. And I'm sorry, but my opinion is that some of the people involved in that party are thugs. That is my opinion. They are the most unpleasant people I have ever come up against on social media. And that is saying something after years of dealing with hard left-wing trolling.
You know that I have to do the job correctly, and I'm sure there are people within Restore that would disagree with that. But what we do is individual opinion, and that is your individual opinion.
That's how I've framed it. I'm being very careful. There's more that I could say, and I'm not going to. But I am glad, let me put it this way, I am glad that the mainstream media is now subjecting this lot to the scrutiny that they should be subjected to, given the impact they appear to be making in Makerfield. And I've got no problem with rival political parties, with competition. You know, that's what it's all about. Reform did this, arguably, to the Tories. People might have said, well, Reform's got no right to split the vote. I've got no problem with that. What I have a problem with is the way some of the people at the top of the party, or who work for people at the top of the party, conduct themselves and the spirit of debate. And I'm sure more will come out about what happened in Makerfield yesterday and the behaviour of some of those activists. And maybe I'll be able to say a bit more about that later. But people should know what they're voting for if they back them. And other parties are available. And I know we're going to do the right thing and list everybody that's running. But I have to say it as it is. I feel quite threatened by them. They're very, very aggressive. And that's just my opinion and what I've observed and experienced.
Isabel, you're great. It's great to have you back, darling. Thank you so, so much. Isabel Oakeshott, our International Talks International editor. Obviously, Makerfield's taking place. List of candidates in one sec. But first, it's 8:24. You know what that means. Oliver William Robin Kylie's not getting out of the car until his dad says good morning. Hello, May. Love you and Rissy and Mrs. Kay. Have a lovely day, and Daddy will speak to you later. 8:24. This is your list of candidates for Makerfield on Thursday. Jake Austin stands for the Liberal Democrats. Count Binface for his own party, Count Binface Party. Andy Burnham, of course, the Labour Party. Dan Clark, the Libertarian Party. John Dyer for the Independents. Ed Gemmell, the Climate Party. Paul Gould, the Independent. Alan Howling, Lord Hope, the official monster raving loony party. Robert Kenyon, Reform UK. Robert Pownall, Protect the Wild. Rebecca Shepherd, Restore Britain. Sarah Wakefield, the Green Party. Peter Ward, Rejoin the EU. And Michael Stanley, the Conservative Party. That's your list of candidates.
Morning, Jessa. It's Wayne from Erdington in Birmingham, mates. There we go again, handing those useless doctors money. cycle lanes. Let's pay for people to ride around on penny farthings. And there we go. We're fighting like the might of Russia and China, and all we've got is catapults and pea shooters. What an absolute shambolic government. Keep up the good work, guys. Top man, Jezza.
Violence on the streets, there's no excuse for that, and if there are protests following this, I just hope that they remain non-violent. I mean, you can understand the community concerns after an attack like that.
People were saying all around the world, that's what British people now think. Have a listen to Rob from yesterday.
Morning, Jez. Well, yes, rightly, you shouldn't condone what happened. What else have people got to do? The political class are not listening. These people who are coming over here illegally, they're rapists, terrorists.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 8:27. You would talk, the home of common sense and the home of the alarm clock Brits. Our Prime Minister, Sir Drury Kiri, is currently addressing the nation where he's banned social media for under 16s. Let's drop back in. Let's be excited.
The Online Safety Act, so I genuinely think we can enforce it, but I'm not prepared to say that because some children may try to get around it and some may get around it, that is not a good reason to take the act of banning. I just don't accept that. No. I'm afraid. Beth. From Sky.
Bye. See, now the thing about this social media ban is it will cause different opinions. Good mate of mine, Griggy. Morning, Jez. In my mind, probably the only good thing that he's done, social ban media. What do you think? There will be many people who think it's a good thing. I just look at the fact that you're allowed to vote, but you're not allowed to certainly troll late night scrolling all of a sudden. I also worry about the fact that you're saying you can't do that, but you can do a load of other things. I don't, though, get away from the fact that demonstrably you can prove that too much of it is not good. I think it needs to be down to parents a lot more. People will say that's not possible. Kids are switched on. They'll find a VPN. Listen, at the end of the day, there's no doubt that it's something that matters, and whatever your opinion, love to hear from you this morning. 0344 499 1000. Jezza, given TikTok and Facebook are now banned to under 16-year-olds, I assume that Childline will be deleting their TikTok account today and the BBC will be deleting their CBeebies account. Very good. MJ. What about, regarding social media, what about victims of abuse, physical and sexual? How will minors be able to use the Messenger feature to contact people and ask for help? Their support network is also being cut. Social media, says MJ, it's not just about surfing around news feeds. Social media can protect them. Can I also say to Griggy and other people, it seems that he is going to cancel TikTok, Instagram, X, but he hasn't cancelled Blue Sky, which, if you like to go and find out, is a left-wing, socialist, politically based website. Oh, and that hasn't been banned. Right, OK. Natasha says, my kids spend as much time as they want on their electronics. We do things as a family. My main concern is time limiting them will affect their employment in adult life. As more things become tech and AI, is someone going to hire you if you know nothing about social media or tech in the future? Natasha, I get that, but there have to be controls. Too much is too much, surely. Jez So our... Pauline Faith. Why did I do that? Faith. So our Royal Marines, God bless them, boarded a Russian oil tank, a big deal. How about doing something like boarding a rubber dinghy crammed full of potential migrants and terrorists? Oh, no, let's not. Let's not do that. No, there's too many women and children on there. Yes, right. A lot of parents will let their kids use the adults' phones to shut them up. Oh, God, yes. And what happens to kids with older siblings? It's never going to work. It's just the beginning of more governmental control, says Julian in Newport. I'm going... What do you mean you want to get your cousin and play Roblox? Your mother's on a phone. Where's your iPad? Oh, it's use my phone then. How am I going to have a bet? That's the whole thing, isn't it? And I'm completely guilty. Serena, if parental control worked, there would be no need to legislate. However, it won't work. Good. 0344 499 1000. We saw this today, and we knew, my dears, you'd love this. Suddenly, Starmer, who was we... Should we just drop in again, see if he's any more inspiring? Keir?
Legacy issues. I see this differently. This is a huge issue for the country. This isn't about any one individual. It is something which people in this room have been concerned about.
So one of the things is apparently he's not allowed to do anything without, you know, basically the cabinet are controlling everything, which is really interesting because not only has he suddenly said there's no money for defence whilst giving the doctors a pay rise, so the defence lot have gone off in a huff. Today he's doing a social media ban. That's because the Labour backbenchers want it. Over the weekend, he stood up to Ed Miliband. Starmer will water down the UK's electric vehicle sales targets in a massive blow to Mad Red Ed's net zero agenda. The PM is understood to have overruled the energy secretary after sustained pressure from industry, the Unite Union and Peter Kyle. Hey-ho. But EV charging companies have thus returned by saying we're going to axe £2 billion worth of investment if he dares to soften his net zero targets. We say a very good morning. Love this man. Head of policy at the Global Warming Policy Foundation. Everybody's got a big title. Harry Wilkinson, good morning.
Good morning.
Why has everybody got a really impressive title and I'm just DJ? It's not great. Harry... I don't believe a word this man says. I believe that everything he brings in, like the social media ban, is simply to placate whoever he can in the hope that he can cling on to his position in Downing Street, which we all know he can't.
Well, it's an extraordinary thing to watch Keir Starmer scramble to sort of make as many decisions at the moment to try and hold on to his position. I mean, it is good to see that opposition emerging within the Labour Party and from the left to this draconian agenda of net zero, Ed Miliband's agenda, which says you have to buy an electric car, you can't buy petrol cars. An agenda that, of course, was started under Boris. The ZEV mandate came in under Boris Johnson's government. And I think it's extraordinary that there wasn't more outrage at the time, because this is a government fundamentally restricting people's freedom to drive the cars they want to drive. Cars are so important to people's freedom of movement, to get to the jobs that they want to get to see their family members. And here was a government thinking that it could control fundamental decisions like that. And, you know, it's sad to see the reaction from the electric vehicle companies. If they really believe in their product, then why do they need the government to force people to buy them? This isn't an industry that sounds like it's filled with enthusiasm for the products that it's supplying.
I mean, you're far more erudite and far more switched on than me, but here's the truth. Net zero, right, is a ludicrous waste of money. And all the people who... And I know how they do it. Do you care about the environment? Yes, he agrees with it. No. Hold on a second. We're skint, right? We haven't got any money. And yet this madman, Miliband, wants to spend millions trying to achieve a target that nobody else in the world, as I see it, unless I'm wrong, Harry, cares that much about. What are we, 1% of global emissions, carbon emissions across the world? You don't see Russia or China getting concerned. And as a friend of mine once said to me, what happens if Ed Miliband continues and we get to 0%? What happens next? Because the truth of the matter is that it's too little too late, and it's utter madness. And I'm with you. It's good that there is now a debate, and I'm sure it's political, but I've just bought a car. I haven't bought I don't want an electric car. Sod off. Don't tell me what I'm going to buy. so much of what I feel now about this government is they're trying to tell people, their citizens, the people that voted for them, how to live, what they can do, what they can buy, where they can go and what they can say. It doesn't work like that.
No, I mean, when you look at the mentality that underpins net zero, they don't see people as people. They see people as items on a spreadsheet, and they see that kind of activity over there that has too much CO2 emissions. You know, these activities over here, they have too much CO2 emissions. How do we get that down? And that is such a reductionist mindset, when actually you could be making a bigger difference in terms of the environment if you think, how do we develop the products in the UK that allow us to do things while emitting less? And that would be the kind of approach that people would want to copy abroad, that we could actually export things from and be successful as a country. But of course, they're not interested in doing that. They're interested in restricting our lives. They love the power that it gives them to be able to interfere in this way in so many different areas. And
well, let's use this moment to educate you and I, because patently we know absolutely nothing. This is Ed Miliband addressing us two on the importance of net zero.
Countries around the world emulated us. We've got this mission, clean power by 2030. If we achieve that, and I'm absolutely determined we do, other countries will say, look what Britain's been able to do. We can do that too. So let's not have a diminished view of Britain. We really matter in this. So many countries come to me and say, you've got a really important responsibility here.
Well, no, I'll tell you what, sorry. Now, I don't mean to jump in. Shall I tell you what our government's responsibility should be? Defending this nation, doing something about the crime on the streets, closing the borders so we're not all under attack. What a load of... He looks like he's on something, man. I can't take that seriously.
Well, Al Carnes, when he resigned from the Defence Ministry, he said that actually cheap energy was really important to our national defence as well. So this is an agenda that's actually critically harming our most important defence capabilities. It's harming the government's most important duty, which is to keep the public safe. And they're putting that to one side and saying we're going to prioritise net zero instead. The idea that people are being inspired by the country with the highest industrial and domestic electricity prices in the world is absolutely absurd. People are looking at us and thinking that is the country we do not want to copy. We do not want to be like them. We do not want to be losing all these manufacturing jobs. And it's interesting that it's the unions who are actually standing up against this from the Labour Party. They can see that those high-skilled, high-paid, unionised jobs, those are in the kind of manufacturing industries that Ed Miliband is hollowing out with net zero.
Couldn't agree more. Lovely to have you on, Harry Wilkinson. This is a public service announcement, obviously. I'm sure he's not on something. It's just he looks slightly manic there, but I'd like to make that point because, we do the job as correctly as we possibly can. Starmer's still droning on. Michael in Hockley says, just look at him droning on. He's boring the pants off everybody. He's instigated a social media ban on kids under 16. Love your thoughts on that. 0344 499 1000. Mr. Starmer, somebody said. Who's this? Oh, Stella in Swindon. Has just said his government listens to the public and acts on their concerns, so they need hearing aids, as we want action against illegal migration, not social media. Jezza says, Rob, the online social media ban is like banning the person who was murdered, but not the murderer. All the blame was with the person killed, but the murderer isn't controlled at all. I guess what he's saying is we should be looking more at tech. Jez, apparently Blue Sky, says Jackie in North Yorkshire, that's the only thing you can join, and that's a left-wing socialist website that's been left on. Keith is in the Philippines. Oh, how big am I on a Monday? That sounded wrong. Since you are now doing personal messages, can you please send me best wishes to Auntie Jane and tell her I hope her bunions are not playing up? And could you please wish Uncle Stan in Worksop a happy birthday? What have I become, a public notice board because you're living in the Philippines because you don't give a toss about your relatives? It's an absolute outrage. Morning, Nick.
Hi, Jezza. Nick here. Alarm clock Britain on the way to work. Listening to this bumbling buffoon, Starmer. Two-tier approach again. Boring everyone on a Monday morning in the rain on the way to work. And then you flick onto Twitter and whatever socials and you see passionate America just had a big UFC event on the lawn of the White House celebrating 250 years of an amazing country. and we have to switch back to see Starmer. How depressing can it be? Why are we not patriotic at all in this country?
Now, listen, I'm going to give him one more chance. The Prime Minister of a country is being quizzed by the journalists. Apparently the quality of sound is better, but I'm not so sure the quality of his answering. Let's give it another go.
Just taking those separately, the concern that's at the heart of this ban is social media, particularly the addictive nature of it. And the
No,
services.
Paul, going to an ad break, back in 3.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. It's 18 minutes to 9. Honestly, he's been talking for 32 minutes and boring the backside off everybody. Keir Starmer on social. Should we just flip in again very quickly? Do you want to? Is it exciting? Go.
What details would need to be in a peace agreement for you to support it?
Yes. I do think
No,
this...
bored! God! 0344 499 1000. In the news, social media ban with Keir Dreary Starmer. Morning, Sarah.
Morning, Jezza. Great show. I'm just a bit confused by your reporting of the social media ban. So you're saying, they'll be allowed to vote, but they can't use social media. But isn't it they're going to be able to vote from 16, and the ban for social media is under 16?
It is, but he's also producing curfews on 16 and 17-year-olds to stop addictive late-night scrolling. He's also shown his hand by removing Sarah TikTok, Instagram and X, but allowing Blue Sky, which is a left-wing socialist website, to maintain itself. For us, there's just a whole argument about 15 years and 364 days. You can vote the following day, but you still can't look at anything. I just think it's... For me, people will have other opinions. It should be more family-orientated, but what do I know? 0344 499 1000. I'm so excited about my next guest. I'm not going back to you, Starmer. You bore the bits off me. Go away. The former advisor to the Ministry of Defence, NATO and the United Nations. I cannot wait for this. Professor Gwythian Prince, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Forgive me, you're a riot. I've just been watching your interview with the wonderful Harry Wilkinson.
Honestly, I can't. Honestly, I'm having... last week was bad enough. I'm having a breakdown. Now, you, sir, are going to give it to us straight. Let's talk straight about the story on the front of the back. So last week, before I left work, the Defence Secretary, John Healey, and Al Kearns, the Armed Forces Minister, went, listen, Starmer and Reeves, you don't care about the defence of this country, we're out of here. He then rather backed this up. Where's the paper? Oh, yes. He came out, didn't he, old Dreary? There's no money for defence. We came in this morning, he's given the old junior doctors a pay rise, which rather makes you laugh. But then this unbelievable story, Gwythian, about a raid on a Russian shadow vessel, which the paper describes as just the beginning. Couple of things. You're a military advisor. The footage that we're seeing here, How did the cameraman get to the bottom of the top of the stairwell before the Marines came, if it was a dangerous situation and they had guns? That would be my first thing. Also, you can see exit in English on the ship. Many people, and I'm not conspiratorial, are saying that this was basic PR to try and offset the public's response. No disrespect to the military, certainly not the Marines, because was it not just 2 months ago when the Attorney General, dreadful Hermer, said, we can't go on any vessels, I know that's Starmer, we can't go on any vessels because it's against their human rights, Gwithian?
Well, don't be too conspiratorial. This was not an opposed fast roping onto this ship. I have no idea how the camera was at the bottom of the stairs. If the suggestion is that it was faked, that's obviously not true. But the point of the story is, well, there are several points. One is that it should, of course, have happened a long time ago as a deterrent, but it didn't, because the Admiral Grigoriev, which is a Russian frigate, has been trundling up and down the channel, escorting these things. And whereas in the old days, that wouldn't have happened because we would have had a squadron of 4 or 5 frigates of our own sailing out of the Royal Navy's main base in Portsmouth, going up and down the channel, so the Russians wouldn't have dared to do anything. Our problem now is that we're very fragile because we can do what we just did yesterday. All I'll say is that the timing is very convenient.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I'm not getting... people were getting conspiratorial, but I will stand absolutely by the fact that 24 hours after you admit there's no money and you lose your defence secretary and your armed forces minister, who are... I mean, it was absolutely... What they said in their resignation letters would have cut to the very heart of what people believe Starmer isn't about. And for me, I'm old-fashioned. It just came to me that... That's pretty convenient, as you said, Gwithian, don't you think?
Well, yes, but look, the second thing to say is that, yes, Hermer came up with some human rights objection, which they now say they've overcome, which is a distraction. Normally, these things should be conducted under old-fashioned law, not international law that doesn't actually exist. But the third thing, which is much more important, is that this was not necessarily a very wise thing to have done, poking the bear, because we are so fragile. Now, we could do this, and we put out a frigate, we put out a quite old minesweeper, and of course the Royal Marines did their stuff from helicopters. But what happens now if Mr. Putin decides that he wants to push back? How will he do that? Well, he's unlikely to do it in this arena. Just recently, you may remember, the government also tried to make propaganda out of the fact that we had detected a large and horrible submarine that was lurking on top of nodes of our cables and gas pipelines, electricity cables. We could detect it, but we couldn't actually do anything much about it. Now, okay, maybe he's going to respond by putting out 5 or 6 submarines. We are too small now to be able to resist with any sort of capability. And the reason for that is, let's go now to the chase, cut to the chase of this. The situation for any defense minister, and the one that caused Healy and Al Khan's, both of whom are grown-ups in the room, to resign, and you're quite right, those letters, they are extraordinary letters to read, and honourable letters. This is quite unusual in the modern world, that men say, I can no longer in conscience continue in my role because I'm not given the means to do it. Let's just put some figures on this. Here's the challenge for Mr. Jarvis. At the moment, we are spending £546.7 billion if you add together the costs of the Nationalised Health Service, plus the hyper-welfare budget, plus the cost on the national credit card, because we exceed the tax income to pay for all of this stuff. And that is 7 times the current defense budget, which on the last figure was 74 billion. So 7 times. We had a rebellion from the Labour Party backbenchers over cutting 5 billion of IP, which is frankly a rounding error. So it's going to take something absolutely fundamental to cut through all of that. And of course, something fundamental will do it, because do remember that no Prime Minister, no Treasury, no Minister of Defence controls the British defence budget. Our enemies control the British defence budget. And we will have to do, as we did in the 1930s, what it takes when we find ourselves confronting irresistible evidence. Now, that irresistible evidence isn't necessarily drones landing in Trafalgar Square. We are at war with Russia, with China, with Iran and North Korea in grey warfare as we speak. That is to say, subversion, electronic attack, cyber attack. It's going on the whole time. The head of GCHQ made an extraordinary speech about a fortnight ago in which she pointed out that the level of this sort of subversion and cyber attack in the UK is unprecedented. So it's real, but we have no credible deterrent.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Deterrence is what you need. And I go back to my first point. If you had a squadron in the Channel, a home fleet, then we wouldn't be needing to board ships like this, because nobody would try to put them through.
Amazing. Final question. And we've talked politically, I know, about how successive governments have cut the money to defence, and we can talk about foreign aid, we can talk about the welfare budget that you talked about, we can talk about the drain of the NHS and the 14 billion a month it costs just to pay the interest on the debts that we've got. But it is fair to say, is it not, that whatever your political persuasion, your first premise is to protect your country and the people in it. And unless something gives on this defence angle, this is another... It's so huge. And the only thing that pleases me, Gwithian, is having these conversations. I think the British public have woken up to the importance of defence like never before.
Oh, I think that's absolutely true. And, Jeremy, the political class continuously underestimates the silent people of England. They underestimated them at the time of the Brexit vote. You remember Mr. Cameron was absolutely sure that they weren't going to disobey what he told them to do. It happened in 2019 when Nigel Farage, remember, gave Boris Johnson his majority, which he then pissed down the lavatory. And it's happening now. So, you know, those things have made people seriously angry. I mean, you know, we all have day-to-day experiences, talking to tradesmen, talking to the guy who fixes my car. I'm having conversations I never expected to have, which tell me that people are getting very close to boiling point.
Completely.
And by the way, if you want a quick hit to double the defence budget in its present form, take all the current subsidies that are being paid to rent seekers for net zero installation, for switching them on, switching them off. That'll give you 25 billion straight away. Close down the whole of net zero, which, as Harry would say, is, and as Al Khan's, who rather late in the day, I might say, because he did vote through all this stuff earlier. But now that he's resigned, Al is being an honest Royal Marine again. And I knew him, by the way, when he was a Royal Marine, and a very distinguished and fine one. He not only has a DSO, he's got a military cross as well. So this is a thoroughly joined up human being. So I'm glad that Al has said these things. So, you know, take net zero completely out. It is a threat to national security. It's about time to say so. And by the way, if I can end on a little advertisement, since this is also in my wheelhouse, I just published yesterday a podcast, which anybody can get. It's open to air on the Daily Skeptic, explaining every single detail about the first principle errors of net zero. So if you want to have them all spelled out, just pop in my name and Daily Skeptic and you'll get a podcast.
Gwithian, I love having you on this show, my friend. I love it. Thank you. Really interesting. And I will finish the show and go on the podcast. You're very kind. Dear Jeremy Kyle, you're not an idiot. You're a senior communications specialist and visual and oratory technical expert. It's my full-time title.
Was that okay?
Yes, it's fine. 0344, that was Gwithian asking somebody else, but the thing was still on. It's absolutely fine. It was absolutely bloody good. 0344 499 1000, text to 87222. Let's do a bit of sport, Big M.
90 minutes in 90 seconds. From the Sun.
Or as Dolan said on Friday, let's play that thingamajig jingle thing before we do some sport, which I know nothing about. But Samuel Luckhurst from the Sun knows all about it. How are you, boy?
Very good, thank you. Thank you very
there
much,
he is,
Jeremy.
the Man United fan. Where do we start? I'm really shaken England stars put in lockdown for an hour after a tornado with 80-mile-per-hour winds felled trees near their World Cup base. You've got to worry about the impact that will have on them when they maybe come to take a penalty, haven't you?
Well, I was out in Florida quite recently. I was out in the States. Unfortunately, we didn't have any weather like that. There was the odd massive downpour, but I suspect, given the trappings that come with their job titles and the protection that they get, that the poor little lambs should be okay. I don't think they'll...
I think they'll be all right. A couple of good games yesterday. Japan 2, Netherlands 2, saw that. Germany beating, I can never say, wherever it was, 7-1. I wanted to ask you very quickly, because lots of debate here, of course, all the action on TalkSport, all the information you need in The Sun. Expanding the World Cup to 48 teams, there's a lot of stuff being said. These teams, this is ridiculous. It's just about money. They haven't got an equality. What are your thoughts on that, Samuel?
I completely agree. Less is more. The recent World Cups have actually been good spectacles. I thought that there was a period where World Cups were not particularly entertaining. The Nadir in South Africa in 2010, I thought that was a really turgid World Cup. But going from 2014 to 2022, I thought it was pretty enthralling almost from start to finish. But where you've got this, almost this too much dross now, and with all great respect to Curacao, like their equalised yesterday was the moment of the tournament, but unfortunately that then preceded an avalanche of goals from Germany, and that's why, going back to the Saturday night's game between Brazil and Morocco, that's been the best game of the tournament so far, I'd say, because it's between two high calibre teams. There was a bit of jeopardy there. But this is an era now where if you finish third out of fourth in a group stage, you can still get to the knockout rounds. And that, of course, started with the Euros 10 years ago.
Welcome back. Interesting times. There's very strange things happening. Samuel, you're a good man. I know there's lots to come. Sun Sport covering it all, Talk Sport as well. Quick question for you. Do England win the World Cup?
No. I don't think so.
Fantastic. Nice and positive. Now, if you are an England fan and that depresses you, I've got the perfect antidote because, my friends, we have some exciting news to share with you from our friends at TalkSport. They're that way. Chris Evans is that way. TalkSport's that way. With the World Cup underway, TalkSport have teamed up with Meantime. That doesn't mean time that's mean. They're a great organisation. They've created a lager. It's called So Good Lager. It'll be poured from all O'Neill's pubs across the United Kingdom, some of the best sports pubs across the whole of this country. And basically, you can find your nearest pub with this fantastic So Good Lager by visiting talksport.com/so good. So if you'd like a TalkSport lager called Good, honestly, so good. It's amazing, right? Go online, talksport.com/so good. As I've told you many times on this show, do I feel like the poor relation? TalkSport have a lager. Chris Evans has Shania Twain, and last week I had Dean, who's that crap he failed to get into Towie, or the only way is Essex. Back after the news at 9, which is next.
I'm angry, Julia. The family are angry. Everybody who has seen that video or even heard the story understandably will be angry. But the job of politicians is not to tell people, go out and be angry. People have a right to protest. I think that actually people coming out and showing solidarity with the family, showing they're upset about it, sends a signal to political leaders. What it shouldn't be is us whipping up people's rage.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk. Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. There you are, and welcome along. Where have you been? I've been here since 6 o'clock. It's just gone 9 o'clock, and we're live across the UK, the home of common sense. This is where your views on the day's views matter. We're here until 10 o'clock, 0344. 499 1000 is my telephone number. You can get through to Tommy, who's taking your calls, and you can leave a voice note to Christian, who's just back from his Italian week away. You can tell he's just come back from holiday if you're just tuning in, because he's got a linen shirt and pale trousers on and trainers. Gone are the boots and the jeans and the scowl. He's looking very healthy. So an hour to go. Loads of people lined up. Steve Baker in just a tick. Trevor Kavanagh as well. We'll go live to College Green to Laura Trott, Shadow Cabinet Minister for the Tory party. You're waking up to two main news stories really today. One is Sir Drury. Is he still talking or has he stopped? He's finished, thank God for that. He started at 12 minutes past 8 to announce a social media ban on 16-year-olds. Now, many people, and I'll be perfectly honest, will say, yes, this is a good thing, it's addictive. He's basically come out and said, I'm going to stop under 16 using the biggest social media sites. So TikTok is banned, Instagram is banned, X is banned, if you're under 16. We'd like to point out that Blue Sky, which is a left-wing socialist website, you can still do that because that hasn't been banned. I think this is best summed up by an anonymous text that says, so a child who's 15 years and 364 days is too immature to have social media, but when they wake up the following morning, they're able to vote for who can run this country, which I think is actually quite interesting. John's in Maidstone. So the only social media site that under 16 can use is a left-wing site, and that way they can spread their ideology and their BS. That's how they want to get 16-year-olds to vote for them. Not only that story, my friends, defence is high on the agenda this morning because we, the British Navy, fantastic with Marine, we managed to raid a Russian shadow vessel in the Channel, which is I mean, let's credit the Marines. Slightly dodgy, I think, if you look at the footage, because the man with the camera is at the bottom of the stairwell before, indeed, the Marines come down, which is quite worrying. But what it's done is it's raised huge debate about defence money. Last week, of course, the Defence Secretary and the Armed Forces Minister resigned because they said this government was not committed to spending money on defence, which is rather backed up by the fact that over the weekend they've given doctors another pay rise, junior doctors, but they refuse to spend money on defence. And then you see that footage and you go, oh, right, so that's just bloody convenient, isn't it? That's just convenient. That's just making you feel better. Anyway, Starmer's our leader and everything's great. Morning, Lillian.
Morning, Jeremy. I've got a good idea. Can we ban that wet wipe, Starmer, from all media outlets, because every time I see his face, it makes me feel sick. It's upsetting my digestive system. Stop pouring his ugly mush on there.
Yeah, Lillian, when the Prime Minister of this country is speaking, I have to have him up so that... There he is. Oh, did she say her digestive system's affected by this? Right, OK. Thanks for tuning in. Listen, it's always great. We want your views on the day's news. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87... pardon? 222. Thanks. Jeremy, my name is Ashley. Brilliant. Founder of Hiking Kids UK. I have seen all too well the impact of social media on our younger generation running, and whilst I support a ban, Dreer the Keir has gone about it once again in a half-arsed way. Tony P, good morning. What does the P stand for? Jez, will this ban benefit the perverts out there who lure our children by offering use of the internet? Just a thought, I would also like to suggest that all fit youngsters between 16 and 25 not in work be given conscription to the armed forces until they're ready to work, says Tony in Hampshire. I'm not sure that's going to work. I'm not sure... Woke? Well, God, it's happened to me. I said woke. Oh, I'm not sure that's going to work. Dave, London, snooping or even stopping a Russian ship in the Channel. I have two things I'd like to point out, Jez. One, how did the camera crew get to the ship first to film the boarding? The boarding crew coming down the stairs, you don't have weapons at the ready with the butt of the weapon next to your ear. They're supposed to be over the shoulder, ready to fire if needed. But perhaps the biggest and most sensible response to all of this today, wherever you're listening, is Pete in Stoke. How is it that Great Britain can stop a ship? I'm not on screen. Massive tanker. We boarded it. How can we do that, says Pete in Stoke, but we can't stop a little rubber dinghy full of migrants? It's a thought. 0344 499 1000. Let's go to the former Conservative Government Minister. A very good morning, Steve Baker. Stevie, how are you?
Good morning, Jeremy. Thank you for having me on.
My pleasure. Where would you like to start? With Flip-Flop's approach to media banning, social media, or would you like to start with our fantastic Royal Marines boarding a ship with a camera crew already there?
Well, it was a bit surprising to see the camera crew down at the bottom of the stairs. Journalists are very brave, everybody knows that, but I wondered whether that was stock footage, actually. But far be it from me to critique the Royal Marines clearance.
No, we're not critiquing them, but you do agree with me that the timing is incredibly weird, given that the Defence Minister and Armed Forces Minister resign next week with... some of the strongest resignation letters I've seen in a long time saying, listen, mate, you are not committed to defending Great Britain. And then over the weekend, suddenly, and this is the point, you're political, suddenly our Marines are boarding a ship, because I thought 2 months ago, Lord Hermer, the Attorney General, went, you're not allowed to do that, it's against their human rights. So what changed? Brilliant. He's frozen. Welcome to technology. Isn't it great when that happens? Now everybody next door is going, oh my God, it's frozen. We'll try him back. That happens occasionally. 0344. I don't panic. Hello to Gary. He says Andrew Fox was brilliant, top bloke and good listening. Hello to poor John in Dorset. Jez, that footage of the Marines boarding the Russian tanker, did you see the exit sign in English on the wall? I think this is... Listen, we can't get too conspiratorial, but it is slightly weird. Michelle says, love the show. Great to see Andrew Fox. Love listening to him. She's in Altrincham, which is very posh up there in Altrincham. Very, very nice area there. Tree-lined roads. Right, Steve Baker, if your machinery goes wrong, you're going to be forced out like you were out of Parliament. Steve Baker, welcome back.
Well, thank you. That's good news. Where were we?
We were talking about... we don't want to be too conspiratorial, but it comes to... It does come to something when... You know, he makes a big thing about not having money for defence. Al Carnes and John Healey, who I respect for their stand. I mean, they also talked about the legacy bill. I think they've taken a bit of time. But what I think is extraordinary is that he thinks that by putting that out, we're suddenly going to forget the fact that he spends billions on welfare and billions on the NHS, whilst basically leaving this country increasingly defensive, Steve.
Yeah, it is good timing. I mean, the government is quite good occasionally at organising a thing, especially in its own interests. Generally, though, of course, your listeners will know that the state as a whole couldn't organise a drinking session in a brewery. So whether this is genuine timing or whether it's been laid on it is an interesting question. I imagine that the ministers who had to take the decision will have had less risk aversion on this occasion. That might be why this has happened now and not in the past. But certainly this sort of thing needs to be done. The Russians need to be deterred. We should be using hard power to uphold the sanctions that we put in place, you know.
How do you think the British public, because one thing I was saying just now to Gwythian Prince was that it strikes me that there's more awareness now amongst the British public as to how important defending this country is. And listen, your lot and this current lot, we've had this discussion before, all guilty of cutting back on defence at a time when, you know, people would say it's Cold War, everything's fine, and it's come back to bite us a bit. And I think if this does anything, it focuses the mind that we have to defend ourselves. We're an island and we're a democratic nation, and I think we have to do that more, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, over the years, I've seen that government is very typically by polling and focus group, and you know, leaders ought to lead. People should have been explaining over the years that defence and criminal justice were fundamental functions of the state. We should have been building more prisons. We should have been spending more on defence. But you know, we prioritised the NHS because that's what the public wanted. I mean, this is the reality of where we are. Money is in very short supply, and for years the public have wanted us to prioritise the NHS and pensions and social care and so on. So we are in a fix. We need to go for growth really urgently. The best way to go for growth is, of course, lower taxes and lighter regulation. That means we need a leader, a politician, who can really strongly make the case that if we want the defence, the healthcare, the social care, the pensions that the public deserve, we've got to go for growth. And that's going to mean a tricky few years while we cut spending, lower taxes, cut regulations, and start thinking really differently about what it takes to be a successful nation. But at the moment, I'm afraid years of managerialism, years of following opinion polls have brought us to this mess, and it's not good enough for the public. We need a real change.
Couldn't agree more. One of the things that was also big today, and we listened to him on and off for the last hour, this social media ban. It's really garnered a lot of interest today, right? And I do understand, not just as a broadcaster, but as a parent, and anybody who says their kids don't use social media, and we haven't all gone, oh, have your iPad, I need half an hour, is lying. But there's this big argument about, you know, at what point does it become something that the government or the state should control as against parents? I've been forever going on about how parents, I'm afraid, abdicate too much responsibility in my mind. However, what is wrong with this machinery today? Where's that? This keeps coming out, me speaking. You're doing it again. I think it's that. Don't worry about it. It's OK. OK, sorry, just a technical problem there, Stevie. Don't worry.
All right.
I get that we need to protect 16-year-olds, right? But you've got a situation that somebody just said to me. 15 years and 364 days, you're told what you can or can't watch on social media. And the next day you wake up, you can vote for who's to be the next Prime Minister. That is frightening by anybody's standards, isn't it?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And you'd have to wait another 2 years to buy a drink in the pub, you know, so it is absolutely ridiculous to draw these really hard lines. I mean, I think there's a number of truths here which are apply at once. So first, I think it is the case that social media does do considerable harm and does actually change the way our brains work. The psychologist Jonathan Haidt has showed that attention spans are collapsing because of social media. And that's really serious. It's not good for our civilization. There was actually a survey out, data out, which showed that smartphone introduction led to, or rather correlated with, a collapse in people having children. So again, it's pretty serious. And as a society, we should be thinking very, very hard about it. I'm always against bans as a matter of course. And my concern here is that this is a real sledgehammer. I mean, some of the things which will be proposed don't look like they're going to work or work as intended. They look like they'll end up drawing adults into various nets, which they shouldn't be in. But the point that's been made about cliff edges, whereby it's assumed someone's now a competent person to be exposed to anything, you know, the following day after their 16th birthday, you know, it's a crazy.
And also, let's be perfectly honest. The problem with Starmer is, and it's a repetitive thing about him, is he wasn't going to do it, then he was, then he wasn't, and now he is. We know that that's the point I made about the defence argument and raiding the Russia shadow vessel. That might well be within your wheelhouse. That might be something, Keir, that you want to do, but you only ever seem to do anything in most people's minds to placate the Parliamentary Labour Party because some bloody focus group has said that'd go down well. I can absolutely, as a 60-year-old man, tell you, I don't think 16-year-olds are mature enough to vote, right? But I look at this morning, and there's a part of me as a parent who's not going to lie and who's used that excuse as I did before, who thinks it's important. But have a go at the tech companies. Ask them with their billions to help, if you like, police this. You come out today, and what does he do? He bans Instagram, TikTok, X. You might agree with that, but the stupid idiot doesn't cancel Blue Sky, which is a left-wing website, so that everybody who's not left-wing is going to go, well, that's just complete bias. That's still the ideology that these kids are going to get. So at 16, they'll vote. The thing that frustrates me about this man, and people say, oh, you don't... He's just not good at it. He just doesn't ever read the room. There's always a glaring opportunity. Today, the two stories that we're talking about, a lot of people have said about that boat, brilliant on the Marines, but the timing's a bit fishy. Did he not think the timing would look fishy? And then when he stands up and says, we're going to ban, not Blue Sky, that's the issue, Steve. He doesn't ever get it right, does he?
He does not know. I mean, yeah, this is the politics of survival. And I think across all of these issues, his actions almost certainly are led by his desire to remain in number 10, a thing we've talked about before. And I think that's what leads him. You know, it's like, well, what are we going to do today to survive? What are we going to do today to improve
Make
our
the last 2
chances?
years a bit more authentic, come in with a plan, stick to it through good and bad, and stop flip-flopping, man. That's the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to see authentic, driven politics, which is well informed by principles and a truly heartfelt commitment to the best interests of the British people. You'd think that would be normal amongst politicians. Alas, it is not. But, I mean, if the public want better politicians, I'm sorry, I've said it before, you probably need to join the political party of your choice and participate in candidate selection. But, yeah, we need politicians who really think hard about what's in the best interest of the public and do the right thing and sell the right thing so that they, instead of paying a price for doing what's right, actually they were rewarded by the public for doing what's right. And the Prime Minister, above all, has the biggest voice in this country. And if anyone can sell to the public a choice which might be tricky, but which is the right thing to do, it's the Prime Minister who could do it. But you need the right person, and having an empty vessel into which just mere polling is poured is not a recipe for success.
We're going to talk, we will play a list of candidates. So just like a quick from you on Makerville. In Makerville, he will launch an immediate challenge to Dreary Starmer, apparently. There's been a lot in the press about how this by-election could play out, and certainly the right-wing media today attacking Rupert Lowe's party, Restore, saying they've got proof that it's the new home for neo-Nazis. Overnight, Rupert Lowe says far-right Tommy Robinson is welcome to join the party. It was quite interesting. We spoke to Isabel Oakeshott, Talk's international editor, earlier, and it's interesting. Restore are obviously challenging reform in that area because the media are certainly having a look. But I think for many people, they're going to sit back and go, this could result in Burnham getting in and could have wider implications for a government that's massively unpopular. I've always got one thing I want to say about this, though, Stevie. I've a great belief in the British people when push comes to shove, haven't you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I do have faith in the British people. I mean, their common sense, when they pay attention and get engaged in an issue, their common sense can rule and do the sensible thing. But, you know, just talking tactically, I think it's just a statement of fact that if people want to remove the Labour MP, if they want to have an alternative to Labour, it's pretty obvious that they would need to vote reform. Now, that pains me to say as a Conservative. But this is the problem with Restore. In a sense, Restore are doing to Reform what Reform have done to the Conservatives. Yep. And if we end up that we get Andy Burnham, and by the way, what a strange pitch to the electors of Makerfield, vote for me and I'll immediately launch a challenge to be Prime Minister. I just don't really know how that would be going down.
Have you heard what he says to them? And it's quite interesting. I've read, we cover all the candidates. He said that I will make this constituency the epicentre of British politics. You can balance what you've just said by saying that. I've got a view that not many people people in this building share. I've said it to the Tories, I've said it to Reform, I'll say it to Labour. I do not believe you should be able to change party in the middle of an election and not stand again. And I certainly, and I said it when the Tories were doing it, I do not believe that when a person is given a mandate from the British people that you have any right to then take that person's job and stand there. I said it with Sunak, I said it with Truss. It's not right. He will have different policies to Starmer, which won't be difficult because Starmer's not got any policies. That means to me that the British people have not said yes to those policies, and therein lies the problem, Stevie, because if Reform lose that election to, let's say, Andy Burnham, the clamour for a general election from the British public will be overwhelming because they won't handle this, they won't accept this for 3 years. That is a massively important point in my mind.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, the whole point of democracy is you get to pick the government that you want overall, the public. And of course, you're right that a change of prime minister intentionally saying he's going to do things differently, well, that, of course, deserves to have consent. The way our system works is if he can command a majority in the House of Commons, then he can be prime minister. And it becomes up to him and to members of parliament whether there's an election. Now, there is some case for it because we would like stability in this country. There is a case for any prime minister, I'm trying to talk in the abstract, being able to, you know, put together a policy programme and then go to the country with it.
But they're not going to because they'll be out of work, all of them. Of course they're not going to go to the country, but I think the clamour will be unheard of.
Well, that is a very good practical point. So I think it's pretty unlikely that he'll go for an election. He might do. He might see a little bounce and think this is the best chance we've got for a long time. Let's go for an election now. We'll only lose 40 or 50 Labour MPs. We can cope with that. I'll have my own mandate. On we go. So he might go for a snap election, but it would be a bit cynical, although it would also fulfil your quite reasonable requirement that he get his own mandate. But in the end, he will decide. We can't force him to go for a general election.
He will decide. A man who's... Anyway, listen, it's all... Listen, the by-election candidates to come, it is the people of Makerfield that will decide. Can I just say something? So 76,000 people in this country could decide who our next Prime Minister is going to be. That is as wrong as 166,000 Tory members picking Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak to be the next... I can't buy it. I can't buy it in any political way. When Brown took over from Blair, when it doesn't make sense to me because however much it's about the party, it is a figurehead, the Prime Minister, right? It is.
Oh, I don't know about figurehead. We've got almost a presidential system these days with so much power concentrated in number 10. But let's talk about alternatives and let's talk about the reality that democracy is the worst form of government apart from all the others that have been tried from time to time. I mean, overall, over the last few years, our system of government has been tested extremely harshly and yet survived. We ended up with they've been useless, but we did have a solid majority for a Labour government. The public were tired of us in power. The system even transferred power. It sorted out Brexit and so on. So our system, broadly speaking, does work, although it's also true that our institutions are now in a state of collapse because we can't afford everything that people want money spent on. So we are in a fix. It's a good time to think about our constitution, but there are going always to be absurdities in it, like a single constituency, it seems, choosing the next prime minister. But if they don't want Andy Burnham, they just have to vote for the candidate most likely to win after him. And I'm afraid that is the Reform candidate. And, you know, I wish the Conservative well. I'd vote for him if I was there, but...
You're not. But you're right. It's down to those people. Stevie, great honesty. Great to have you on. Former Conservative government minister, was at the centre of Brexit. Thank you very much, Steve Baker. 9:25 here, though, for a public service announcement because the Makerfield by-election is on Thursday. Here is a list, my friends, pre-recorded. That's why I've got a different shirt on, of your candidates. Jake Austin stands for the Liberal Democrats. Count Binface for his own party, Count Binface Party. Andy Burnham, of course, the Labour Party. Dan Clark, the Libertarian Party. John Dyer for the Independents. Ed Gemmell, the Climate Party. Paul Gould, the Independent. Alan Howling, Lord Hope, the official monster raving loony party. Robert Kenyon, Reform UK. Robert Pownall, Protect the Wild. Rebecca Shepherd, Restore Britain. Sarah Wakefield, the Green Party. Peter Ward, Rejoin the EU. And Michael Stanley, the Conservative Party. That's your list of candidates.
Sam is a complete nutjob. He wants to ban social media to protect kids from strangers online. He wants to start stopping strangers entering on boats and protect the public.
Violence on the streets, there's no excuse for that. And if there are protests following this, I just hope that they remain non-violent. I mean, you can understand the community concerns after an attack like that.
People were saying all around the world, that's what British people now think. Have a listen to Rob from yesterday.
Morning, Jez. Well, yes, rightly, you shouldn't condone what happened. What else have people got to do? The political class are not listening. These people who are coming over here illegally, they're rapists, terrorists. They're coming over here. It's literally like putting a wolf in a sheep field.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, my friends. 9:28. We're live across the United Kingdom. This is Talk Breakfast. It's the home of common sense, even when I'm on. It's where your views on the day's news are welcome. 0344 499 1000. Julia Hartley Brewer is here from 10, Ian Collins from 1, and the excellent Kev O'Sullivan on drive time. Don is in Glasgow. He says he's an alarm clock jock. Do you see what he did there? He's not like you do, yeah. He said, morning, Jez. So, 15-gear handbrake turn Kia is playing havoc with the digestive system. Well, good news for all of those with digestive issues. Just stick a picture of him up in your toilet and 2-tier Turbo Lax will give you fast, effective relief. It's very good. A round of applause for Don in Glasgow. Darren, Jez, come on, man. The difference is Blue Sky, the one that you say is left-wing and is still allowed, actually puts restrictions on its platform. Twitter is a cesspit of filth, says Darren the van driver. Wouldn't disagree about being a cesspit of... I don't get involved in that because I'd be absolutely... No, I can't do that. Morning, Jez. I think that it is a training video of the forces on that boat. No crew and no Russian signs. Come on, Starmer, you can do better than that, you plonker. Darren's in Barnsley. That was a cough. I was unfortunate enough to catch the first few minutes of Starmer's speech this morning, but before I switched over, I'm sure he said something about how his government was listening to the public on what they wanted. You're a liar. Pardon? Andy Coulson. Yes, my real name. Andy Coulson. The ex-editor... Really? Anyway, he wants to protect kids in this country, does he? How about we have less anonymous rapey and stabby people arriving on the daily? That would probably be more productive. But it's true, isn't it? It's absolutely true. I think it was a different person. David on holiday in Turkey. He's seen the light. That's because the sun's come... I'm sorry. Was the Russian tanker called Titanic, by any chance? Starmer is sinking. Graham the Joiner. Hi, Jez. During the day when I'm knocking nails in, I sometimes think about this great nation and the state it's in. I eat a jammy Dodger to cheer myself up. Today I will eat a pack of 6, says Graham the Joiner. And people wonder if the audience to this show are slightly deranged. I think they are. Morning, Elaine.
Morning, Jezza. I was watching that clip of the Marines boarding that ship in the dark, coming down from the helicopter. And do you know what? A Bond film came to mind. I thought, it's like something... you're watching something out of a Bond film. I reckon Starmer wants to be in a Bond film, don't you? Hilarious. Have a good day. Bye for now.
Imagine Starmer in a Bond film. Octopussy. I'm not going any further. I'm just, 0344 499 1000. Let's say a very good morning to a titan of broadcasting, former political editor of The Sun, Trevor Kavanagh. Good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Jeremy. Love listening to your readers and listeners.
Thank you, my friend. Let's start with the ship thing, because you have always spoken the truth. Last week, when we finished on Thursday, Healy went, Carnes went. I mean, eviscerating Starmer with their resignation letters saying, listen, mate, you do not have any intention to defend our nation. His response over the weekend is to, yes, admit there's no more money for defence whilst giving the junior doctors yet another pay rise. But this tanker capture, which you're seeing pictures on screen now, I know there's a lot of conspiracy theorists out there, and I'm not one of them, but timing's a bit dodgy, isn't it, Trev?
Well, it's one of those classic Starmer stunts that doesn't quite work, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we've had the Russian fleets sailing up and down the English Channel unimpeded by any action on our part, just waving 2 fingers in our direction. And why didn't we do something then? We could have done something at the moment they are actually doing something offensive to us. So we wait until we've got a chance just before a by-election, and we organise the remains of our armed forces, what's left of them, to perform this boarding process. I mean, look, everybody sees through it. Your audience has seen through it, and I think the voting public will too.
But it's really interesting. You'll know this because 2 months ago, that Attorney General man who puts the rights, it seems, of everybody, be they migrants or criminals, ahead of anybody who happens to be here or have come from here, right? He said, we cannot board those ships, I've got the clip, because it is against the people's human rights. But today, on the back of admitting that they haven't got any money for defence because they prefer to spend it on the feckless on the welfare state or pour it down the drain that is the NHS, suddenly there's footage and it's apparently OK. That's why people are cynical, Trev.
And they've got grounds for being cynical. I mean, we know that the armed forces are stretched to the limit, that they've been reduced to the minimum, maybe below the minimum, and you only had to watch the fly past for the King's birthday on Saturday to see the tiny remains of our Royal Air Force in action. So, you know, this is what he's doing in the sense of what he's delivering in terms of money for the defence upgrading, the 13.5 billion, is a cut. It's not an increase. In all the definitions of what we actually need, we need £28 billion now. And this is half that amount of money. And so we're not going to get any bangs for our bucks on this one. We're just about to be able, maybe, to keep our heads above water.
One of the interesting things, and whenever we talk about the by-election on Thursday, obviously we're in purdah, which means we do it correctly. We have to name all the candidates, and certainly we'll do that, and we've done it across the morning. I just wanted to pick up on something that Nigel Farage launched yesterday. Launched his Substack, which is part of, I'm told, I sound like I know what I'm talking about. I thought it's where you got a sandwich from, but apparently it's on social media. It's very important. Anyway, backed by data and with facts, it was quite a telling essay. And he said, and I quote, Britain is a two-tier state against white people. And he claims that the toxic ideology of diversity has literally taken over Whitehall. Now, we're showing pictures of him last week when he stood up and he said there's two-tier policing. And look at those muppets behind him giving him grief. I suspect that a huge number of people in this country would agree. Over the weekend, Trevor, everybody to a man and a woman jumped up and said, this is absolutely outrageous, this is racist, what do you mean anti-white, this is so wrong. This morning we learn, this is brilliant, that white job seekers, this has been proven with data, are being shut out of taxpayer-funded employment schemes and training opportunities because they are going solely, in a box-ticking way, to ethnic minorities. So he's right, isn't he?
Absolutely right, and I've seen the evidence myself where I live, where people are being recruited to fill posts, and basically no white man need apply. They simply are not given a chance. They're not even interviewed. So we have at all levels the sort of levels of travel on the underground, travel on the buses, walk around the shops in central London, and you'll see precious few white faces behind the counters, behind the wheels, or dealing with the public. So this is the reason that people are so annoyed, especially when you've got 9 million people on unemployment or employment-related benefits not working, while so many people coming in, clearly from recent migrants, certainly not born in this country, getting the jobs that they should be doing.
I mean, sorry, I was taking a sip. I'm listening to you, but no, but therein lies my theory, and it always has. The BS of we need to open our borders, Trevor, to fill fruit-picking hospital porters. And when you raise that point, they go, well, half of them are doctors. No, the truth of the matter is we have, I still believe, one of the greatest inventions in the modern world, the welfare state. We as a nation will help people who can't help themselves. But they've gone so far the other way as they do that there are at least 2 million, in my assumption, it might be more, it might be a little bit less, of people who are not mentally ill and they're not disabled, they're lazy, and they are playing the system and they are getting given that money with nothing in return. I would shut the borders instantly, and I would say to those people, we know you're looking, well, you're going to be made to look, you're going to have to do it face to face, but whilst you're doing that, you're going to give something back to the community that's paying tax so that you are still able to live. So it might be cutting somebody's lawn, painting some granny's face, I don't know, picking up litter, but you're going to get out of your bed, you're going to get something on your CV, you're going to get some motivation. And the people in this country, the hard-working Brits who pay taxes and think, why do I bother, will actually feel that other people are giving them something. But we don't think like that in government, do we?
Well, I think you stand up for what the talk service is, which is the voice of common sense. That is the overwhelming view. What you've just said is the overwhelming view of the vast majority of the British people. People who do get up in the morning and do their 48 hours or 40 hours a week, whatever it is, and they pay their taxes, and they don't like the fact that those taxes are going to people who don't get up in the morning and plead some sort of mental disability like ADHD, which is an invented syndrome, along with many others that people submit to because they are told about it on social media. And just ducking back for a moment to what Keir Starmer's doing on social media, I think every parent in the country would like to see their children protected from the abuses that are manifest on social media. They just don't trust this government to do anything sensible about it. Whatever they do will turn out to be wrong.
And also, yes, and actually also the timing, be it the ship, being it social media, whatever it is, I never feel, I used the word earlier, that it's authentic and that you've actually come to the table, Keir, with that idea. All I think, and increasingly perhaps doing this, it's all some idiot says in his ear, this would go down well, or some focus group has said people care about this, and he brings it in, irrespective of whether he supported that in the past or he hasn't, or the timing looks wrong. There's no plan. There's never been a plan, and that, you know, that comes home to roost. Trev, interesting times this week. Did you see, before we finish, being balanced about Makerfield, there's talk that the right vote will split because Rupert Lowe's Restore Party seems to be gaining traction online, certainly from Elon Musk. But a lot of the media, certainly the Mail and other papers, have started looking into Restore and have discovered that there have been examples of Restore as the new home for neo-Nazis. He's also said this morning, Rupert Lowe, that Tommy Robinson is welcome to join his party. It'll be interesting to see what people believe and how they cast their vote on Thursday, my friend, won't it?
Absolutely, and I hope they are listening to those voices that are saying, don't vote for Rupert Lowe, don't vote for Tommy Robinson, and don't vote for Labour. And the only alternative that's going to win this election, rather than Andy Burnham, is Nigel Farage and Reform. They may have to hold their noses for the first and only time, but this is the moment when the future of Britain is in the hands of those voters. And it is their duty to think very, very carefully before they let a carpetbagging MP, an opportunist Labour weather-vane politician who blows with the wind, coming in and inflicting probably more harm on this country even than Keir Starmer's doing now.
Couldn't agree more. Listen, always a pleasure, Trevor. You know that, my friend. Great to have you on. Just to point out that, you know, whenever we're talking about an ongoing political situation like Makerfield, that was Trevor Kavanagh's personal opinion. Earlier on, we had this with Isabel Oakeshott. The people of Makerfield will make their decision. They have much choice. This is the candidates list for that local constituency on Thursday. Jake Austin stands for the Liberal Democrats, Count Binface for his own party, Count Binface Party, Andy Burnham, of course, the Labour Party, Dan Clark, the Libertarian Party, John Dyer for the Independents, Ed Gemmell, the Climate Party, Paul Gould, the Independent, Alan Howling Lord Hope, the official monster raving loony party, Robert Kenyon, Reform UK, Robert Pownall, Protect the Wild, Rebecca Shepherd, Restore Britain, Sarah Wakefield, the Green Party, Peter Ward, Rejoin the EU, and Michael Stanley, the Conservative Party. That's your list of candidates. That, of course, Thursday, the Makerfield by-election, and all the reaction and all the news are Friday morning and onwards, and we'll see how the landscape of British politics will change. Somebody said the other day, or not the other day, the other hour, that they thought that Keir Starmer should appear in Bond films, that maybe, you know, he was considering this. We've got some suggestions from Russia with Love. Very good. The Chinese Spy Who Loved Me. Very good. Labour Never Dies. Did you write these? Did you? Benefits Are Not Enough. And For Benefit Claimants Only. That's Christian. Back from his holidays and showing himself to be a fantastic addition. No, he's the boss. 18 minutes to 10. Listen, let's get all sides to this argument. Let's cross to Victoria Gardens in Westminster, the Shadow Education Secretary. Say a very good morning. Laura Trott. Laura, how are you?
Good morning, Jeremy.
Well,
good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Pleasure. Can we start with your view as the Shadow Education Secretary? I'm quite outspoken on this, as to this ban, social media ban today announced by Keir Starmer under 16s. We acknowledge that I think anybody, parent or not, would acknowledge the overriding power and what it's doing to a younger generation. But many people phoning this show this morning have said one thing and one thing only. 15 years and 364 days, you can be told what you can't watch online, but 24 hours later you can vote for who the next government of this country will be, Laura. It's ludicrous.
I mean, look, I don't support votes at 16. It's obviously preposterous, and we need to have a proper conversation about what the age is for adulthood in this country. But do I think that the social media ban is a good thing? Yes, I do. That's why we, the Conservatives, have been pushing for it for a long time in the House of Commons. It's only really happening today because of our pressure. And I think it is a fundamental Conservative principle that we protect children, we protect childhood, but we allow freedom for adults. And that is what I do with this ban.
How does that get policed? And my other, just because it's a two-way thing, do we not think the parents should take more interest, control and involvement in their children's lives? Does this not say a lot about how the family unit has broken down?
It's parents that are asking for this. It's parents who are desperately trying to control their children's social media use, but they can't control it because this is a collective action problem. So where they say, oh, you can't watch this, you can't do this, we're going to put controls on, then they go sit next to somebody on the bus and they're watching porn age 13. This is fundamentally wrong. And if you think about it, Jeremy, we are very comfortable saying that children shouldn't watch pornography in offline world, right? They can't go into a shop and buy porn, but yet that is what they're seeing every single day on social media. This is why it is so important that we stop this, and also why we start policing age on these platforms and not speech.
What about the tech companies, Laura? Do they not have a huge responsibility as well, the tech companies? I'm not against it. I freely admit on this show, I said it earlier, I've got more kids than your ex-boss Boris Johnson, but we all do it as parents. We'll go, I need half an hour, I need to empty the dishwasher or have a shower, just sit with your iPad. I completely accept that, and I know. But I do think about parents should take more responsibility. You're the shadow education secretary. I get really peeved when people say, well, it's down to the school. No, it should start at home. But tech companies, shouldn't they be forced to accept responsibility, Laura?
But that's what the ban will do, Jeremy. It will mean that tech companies have to ensure that there are no under-16s on their platform, and it will be on them, the onus will be on them. And that is very helpful because it means that the speech otherwise can be free. So we're no longer saying, oh, we can't have this individual tweet because it's going to be, children will see it. What it will mean is we can have much more freedom online, but children are protected from things that they just shouldn't be seeing, like porn, like beheadings, like real-life violence, like being approached by paedophiles on Snapchat, which happens all the time.
Yeah.
All these things will stop, and that is a very positive thing.
Can I just get your view on the other big news story of the day? Last week, when we finished the show for breakfast on Thursday, there was the big furore over John Healey and Al Khan's resigning, saying, in eviscerating letters to Starmer, you don't want to protect the nation. Over the weekend, in fact, front of the Telegraph today again, him saying there's no more money for defence. I'm not attacking you personally, but we know that successive Conservative governments and this government have patently failed under the belief there's a Cold War and not supported defence spending as they should have done. For me, hopefully this will raise in people's minds the importance of this country defending itself, because there is no doubt, whether it's the welfare budget or the NHS or foreign aid, that we have to prioritise the safety of this nation, don't we?
Of course we do. And we have an active war now in mainland Europe. So it is absolutely right that we fund defence. And we, the Conservatives, have said to the government that we will support them in cutting welfare to do exactly that. But what a mess they're in. I mean, you had the resignations last week where, as you rightly point out, Healey said that the Prime Minister was unable and the Treasury was unwilling to fund defence. Then you had a government spokesperson now only yesterday saying the money was going up. Now today, apparently it's not anymore. It's a total shambles, and this will be Keir Starmer's legacy.
I don't know what is... legacy is supposed to be something that you've achieved. I hate to ask you, but I'm going to. This warship...
Wouldn't it be nice?
Yeah. This Russian vessel, I'm confused about the raid. No disrespect to our armed forces. We here think the timing is quite fishy. And also, with respect, we also wonder if it's possible to stop a tanker that large, Laura Trott. Why has this government and successive governments not been able to stop rubber dinghies with migrants in them?
Well, it's nice to know that we, despite everything, can still perform these types of big operations. And I mean, it's a credit to the amazing Marines and other forces that were involved in this. I think what it's shown is how important our military is and why we need to put more money into it. And of course, in terms of illegal immigration, you will know that we are pushing the government very, very hard to do more. We've got to leave the ECHR. We need a Rwanda-style deterrent, which the government just scrapped on day one without thinking what the alternative would be.
And just to finish, because no other station would ask you this, and I know you've got a sense of humour, we've spoken a lot of times, if Keir Starmer was, if he was a James Bond, do you think he'd be, my name's Flop, Flip Flop, or do you think he'd be Dr. No Idea, Laura Trott? What do you think?
He's definitely Dr. No Idea.
Fantastic. Thank you so much indeed, Shadow Education Secretary Laura Trott. Everybody's gone mad. He couldn't possibly be, I mean, this is the best one, I've got to be honest. Alison from Kent, the spy who misgendered me. 10 to 10, it's Talk Breakfast.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
The best Bond movie. Even Christian's not allowing me to say it because but it's absolutely fantastic. Listen, I want to introduce you to somebody who phones this station every single morning, who is dedicated to the thing that is Talk. My good friend, Mr. Rob Armstrong, who's down in London. Have you been this far south from Newcastle before?
Oh, it's strange down here, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like a foreign country.
It is a foreign country. Listen, great to have you. You love this station, don't you?
Yes, every morning, as soon as I wake up, 6:30. Flick you on, that's how I start my day.
Nice. Very quickly, on today's two subjects, because I know you'll have something to say. The naval, sort of the soldiers, the Marines going on board. You don't think that looks real, do you?
You can't put massive tanker and Keir Starmer in the same sentence. You've got to be very careful. If that's a proper interception, yes. I'm an astronaut.
Really?
It's just incredible. Look,
the timing.
These guys and the way that they go about their business, you can see them. You've seen it happening on other ships. It's not that friendly, is it?
No, and also many people this morning saying you could stop that, but you can't stop the small rubber dinghies, right?
The most amazing thing about that whole scene is that they managed to find a working helicopter to get them there.
That's true. There isn't much of that. Social media, you're a dad, I know. There's a very serious side to you, one of my bestest friends. What do you feel like that? You've got two young teenage girls.
Listen, you can't deny that it's a huge problem and there's loads of stuff on there, way too much. But this is a genie that can't be put back in the box.
Yeah, or the lamp.
Or the lamp.
Why would the genie be in the box?
I know, he doesn't need to be.
No, he could be in the lamp.
Rub the lamp and out he comes.
Absolutely. Oh. Keir Starmer could appear in a remake of The Man with the Golden Gun. He could be Scaramoron. Brilliant. Scaramoron. Sorry, I've interrupted
If he was in the
you.
army, he would have been in the Royal Buffoons or the Royal Confused Liars.
Live and let lie, says Andrew from Salisbury. You're a disgrace. Yeah, social media's a different one. I actually took what Laura Trott said. You know, kids can see stuff and you want to stop that. But it does strike me as weird that at 15 years and 364 days you're being told you can't watch something, but one day later you can vote for we both got 16-year-olds.
Yeah.
It frightens me to think, I'm not being rude to my son, that he's going to pick the next government. Jesus.
He grabs at anything, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Whoever sits behind him shouts these things and he leaps forward and through his nose declares that he's, you know, he's just... It's unbelievable that he can be so stupid and to believe that everybody's on board when everything he does, he'd probably change his mind at the end of the day. And you know, he changed his mind three times on it,
Robbie,
didn't
there's
he?
just nothing authentic. That's what does my head in. You know, I was saying to you the other day, and I've said to many people, there's nothing about Jeremy Corbyn that I would ever agree with in the whole of my political life.
Yeah.
But at least he stood up and he said to the British people, there's my manifesto. Yes, it's very left-wing, and he got 34% of the vote. This one had no plan, doesn't have any authenticity, does he?
None, and I mean, let's be honest, everybody hoped, after 14 years, you know, the Conservatives, they are as much to blame. We all hoped that this man would have something. Well, nobody wanted him to fail this miserably.
No, because we like our country and we're patriots, right?
And he has been I mean, you don't get to be the most hated man in the history by doing anything other than upsetting people, and he's made the best job ever.
It seemed to be ineffectual. Just that's what so annoys me. Good morning, Jez. Nice to have Rob on. Starmer as 007 in Live and Let Flop, says Gordon in Slough. Talk, Jez, what about Lie Another Day? You see, that's a very popular one. Jez, my husband Neil Sefton from South Wales, could be Christian's dad. Christian's mum. Says Starmer's Bond movie should be called The Man with the Golden Breakfast Club. Loving the show, says Alison. Have you ever seen a Breakfast Club, by the way?
The other day, I forgot my money.
Yeah?
I pay lots and lots of tax. I'm a high-end taxpayer.
Yeah.
So I went out and I thought, oh, breakfast clubs will be everywhere. It's all he ever talks around.
Yeah.
I thought a sausage sandwich, a free sausage sandwich.
Yeah,
I'd love
all
that.
the tax you paid, yeah.
Couldn't find one, mate.
Not at all?
Nowhere.
Great. How's Newcastle, is it right?
Newcastle's fantastic. I love Newcastle. Newcastle's born and bred there. I love the city. It's a fantastic place. I've been lucky enough to take part in loads of stuff. You know, I have my charities up there.
That's great charitable work.
That you helped us with. You know,
He's a good man.
£310,000 were raised for the disabled kids of the north. The centre's huge. It's somewhere I spend quite a lot of time. It does so much great work up there. Newcastle, as you well know, it's your second favourite city.
It is. Well, actually, increasingly my favourite city. It's only a little cameo, but this is Rob, a legend. And have you lost weight?
No, I'm 19.5 stone.
I know you are. Thank you very much indeed. And the only reason we put you on is because the producer said to me he's threatened to knock me out if I don't put him on.
I did.
Is that right?
I did. So I can't now.
Contact violence. Robbie's a legend. Thank you very much indeed. It's 5 to 10. Julia, followed by Ian, followed by Kevin. We're back in 3. I'm off for a wee.
We've got some breaking news that has just come in. TalkSport have announced a brand new partnership in a developing story. We hear they've created So Good Lager right in time for football's big summer. Just in, we're hearing that So Good Lager will be pouring pints across all O'Neill's pubs and some of the best sports pubs across the UK. With the big kickoff just around the corner, you can find out where to get your hands on a fresh pint of So Good Lager at talksport.com/lager.
A across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Of course, you lot have gone completely barking mad as to what Bond film Starmer should be in. For your votes only, says Anthony in Liverpool. Rose in Yorkshire, we could recast him in Jaws as Jawless. Perhaps my favourite one of all, though, is this. Regarding Starmer as 007, no way, the name's Bond. Government instability Bond, flip-flopping over his drinks order. Martini, shaken. No, wait, sir, I don't want one, I'll have a water. Morning, Julia Hartley.
Very good morning, I'm loving these. I just can't see him as Bond. God,
honestly, can I... DEI forever.
Oh, that is...
And I might as well get sacked. They said you could remake Octopussy to Total. Anyway, there we go.
Steady on, Monday morning.
The tanker. Is that not the most convenient thing you've ever seen?
And the social media ban. I mean, literally, two things like, oh, hello, I'm a Prime Minister, I can get things done.
No, but you can't. You're reacting to public opinion because you always do it, because there's nothing authentic about you.
No, exactly. No, and also, by the way, this social media ban, they're going to bring it by next spring. Oh, mate, Kirillov, you're going to be a backbench MP at that point. That's not without any doubt whatsoever.
He'll leave politics. He won't stick around as a
No, he'll still stay as an MP. They have to. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they all do. They all stay as an MP.
Cameron, didn't he flounce straight out?
But there was, he was still a